1:30 a.m. It's a warm night in Colorado Springs.
John Carson, an EMT here in town, was sleeping when he hears a frantic knock on his front door.
You know, when somebody bangs on your door in the middle of the night, the first thing you think of is, am I in danger? When he looks out the peephole, he sees his neighbor covered in blood.
Curtis is hurt.
John, as an EMT, has some medical training. His neighbor knows this.
Can you help? John grabs his stuff and runs to William's apartment and sees a man laying on the floor. Blood was everywhere.
Continue CPR.
Curtis!
Oh, God. Call 911. We're gonna lose him. It's not working.
As John is conducting the CPR on the victim, he realizes this is not working.
He needs help, and he needs help now.
He's not gonna make it.
In a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside of town, Lt.Joe Kenda hopes his workday is finally coming to an end.
I had come home that night late from a call, and I woke up one of my dogs, who was a little bitty guy named Fritz. He wanted to go out, so I've got to let him out. I lived out of town, and there were coyotes who are predators. And Fritz is just the right size to get taken by one of them. So I would always watch him when he was out.
Damn. Fritz. Fritz, come on, boy. Come on in. It's Kenda. Uh-huh. All right, I'll be right there. Now you come in.
20 minutes later, Kenda arrives at a neighborhood unaccustomed to the flashing red and blue of police activity.
The 2500 block of East Uinta has a large apartment complex in it. It's a nice, usually very quiet area.
Lieutenant,
So what do we got?
a single male, gunshot wound to the chest.
When I arrived, I'm told that Curtis Ashley, who is a 28-year-old man, had been removed by ambulance and was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital.
Curtis Ashley was a kind soul that had a good heart, somebody who had just gotten out of the service and was getting ready to start his civilian life and see where that led.
Any family roommates?
Yeah, you got two, William and Sheila here.
The two individuals that were present at the scene were William and Sheila. This was their apartment.
They had allowed the victim to stay with them and had been staying with them for approximately 3 to 4 weeks.
You want to talk to him now?
I want to look at the crime scene first.
When I walk into this apartment, I look at, of course, the bloodstain, which is enormous, and it's on a futon-type sofa.
We're assuming this is where the victim was crashing.
Well, he didn't do much sleeping tonight, did he?
There is a large amount of blood. It's soaked through the cushion on the futon.
It's obviously a gunshot wound.
High-velocity blood spatter is only produced by a gunshot wound. So obviously, he's there on the bed when he takes this bullet.
I got bone fragments here.
Unless a bullet strikes the body where the skin is directly over bone, for example, the forehead, bone fragments will not be part of the blowback. It will all be pushed forward by the bullet. So even though that body's not here, the bone fragments tell me there was an exit wound.
The bullet's got to be here somewhere.
I want that bullet. That is what killed this man, and we have to know its point of origin. I noticed something in the drywall. There might be a bullet hole.
Yep, here it is.
When I shine a light through that hole, I can see that there is a base of a slug lodged in a stud inside the wall. That is probably the fatal round.
Yeah, we're gonna need that bullet.
We're gonna have to cut through that drywall to get at it.
Whatever you gotta do.
Yes, sir.
We will go to any length to include any level of damage to a property to recover those projectiles.
Hey, look at this.
That's 380. Go ahead and bag it.
Could that be the gun that was used? Of course. It's here, and it's very close to where all this blood is.
We need to get this gun fingerprinted.
If this gun fired the deadly round, a clean print could immediately identify the killer.
The guy was shot here. He definitely didn't die here. Got a blood trail going down the hallway.
It's William and Sheila's room in the back.
Why would a guy give his last bit of life to go down this hallway?
What exactly is he doing? Does he get up? And does he maneuver down this hallway, getting blood from his wound on these walls? Is he looking to get away from who did this?
For answers, Kenda turns to the couple who lives here.
I arbitrarily select William Parks as the first guy for me to talk to.
All right, you can go. I'll take it from here. So, William, what's your relationship with Curtis Ashley?
We're friends.
He said that Curtis had fallen on some hard times. Him and his girlfriend had broke up, and he had no place to stay, so we let him stay in his apartment for a couple of weeks.
What happened here tonight?
Well, we had all gone off to bed. Me and Sheila were sleeping, and then around 1 a.m., I heard a gunshot. What was that?
And he sees Curtis Ashley leaning against the door frame, saying he needs help. He turns to return to the living room and literally falls face first onto the floor. Now, William is awake, and he turns on a light, jumps out of bed, and sees a large hole in Curtis's back.
So it's just you, your wife, and Curtis in the apartment when the shooting happened?
Yes, sir.
What do you think happened here?
Well, he'd been sleeping with his gun, so maybe he rolled over in his sleep and it went off.
Really?
People sleep with many things. Very few people sleep with a gun. That really piqued my interest when he said that.
You think he accidentally shot himself in his sleep?
Yeah.
He couldn't think of any other reason why Curtis would have been shot other than an accidental shooting.
All right, stay right here.
Is it possible he shot himself in the chest with a semi-automatic pistol while he's in bed, accidentally? Yeah, possible. Is it likely? No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Hoping for an account that better suits the facts, Kenda turns to William's common-law wife, Sheila.
Sheila, I'm Lieutenant Kenda.
And I ask her the same kinds of questions I ask William, and I'm getting the same kinds of reply.
Yeah, he was a really great guy. We really liked him. But he was kind of going through a lot, so we were trying to help him out.
But then she says something completely different than her common-law husband.
What happened here tonight?
I think he shot himself.
Excuse me?
He was really depressed. He had this girlfriend, Hannah, and she just broke up with him. I was trying to, cheer him up a little bit, convince him things were gonna get better. Okay?
No,
What's going on?
it's Hannah. It's everything.
She further said he had just discovered a few days earlier that Hannah had already jumped into a relationship with somebody else. He therefore believed he had not only been discarded, but had been forgotten. Would a suicidal person shoot themselves in the chest? That is a very rare thing. Suicidal people want to make certain this is going to work. They shoot themselves in the head.
You and your husband are telling very different stories. Stay right here.
What I focus on is what is likely, not what's possible. This is getting curiouser and curiouser. The more we ask and the more we learn, the less I like this.
Kenda's suspicions only deepen when he hears back from CSI.
Hey, Lieutenant. CSI pulled a bullet out of the wall behind the bed.
What's the caliber?
It's a 45.
Now, the gun we covered from the base of the bed is the .380. Can a .380 fire a .45 caliber bullet? No, it can't.
Were any other guns recovered?
No, sir. Just the victims.
That bullet, that piece of lead stuck in a wooden stud, says there is no suicide. There is no accident. This is a murder. And who is present in this room that's still alive? William Parks and Sheila Conway, that's who. We're investigating the death of Curtis Ashley, who was shot in his residence.
Curtis's roommates William Parks and Sheila Conway claim Curtis shot himself. But a .45 caliber bullet recovered from the wall suggests otherwise.
That bullet says this is a murder.
Are they trying to lead us down the wrong path?
They're our best leads at this point. They're also our best suspects.
I need to talk to the two of you. Either one of you own a gun?
No.
Because Curtis's gun isn't the one that killed him. This wasn't a suicide. This isn't an accident. This is a murder.
Somebody killed him. Is that somebody you? Is that why you're lying to me?
Let's go inside and talk about it.
William understands all of a sudden that this is going south on him and his common-law wife. Now they become really distressed.
You think it's us? We did it? I'm telling you, it wasn't us.
We really are trying to lean on them as possible suspects, but they're adamant about they're not involved.
Are you interested in proving you didn't shoot Curtis? Because there's a test we can do on your hands that'll show if either one of you shot a gun.
Sheila and William agree to submit to a gunshot residue test.
A GSR test is the only way to determine if they've fired a gun. There's going to be a certain amount of smoke, unburned powder particles, and various other chemicals that come out of the weapon and onto the hand of the shooter. If you fire that gun, there's going to be a result, and it's going to say yes or no.
The GSR test confirms that neither William nor Sheila fired a gun that evening.
The results are negative, Lieutenant.
Neither of them?
Neither of them.
Thank you.
So it's apparent that we now have a third person, unidentified, who somehow came into this apartment in the middle of the night and shot and killed Curtis Ashley and then left.
So did we check for any signs of forced entry?
Yeah, we did, but nothing. Nothing on doors or windows.
Sometimes I forget to lock up.
All right, I'll see who's available. Start at campus.
Sounds good.
At this point, we're going to be contacting neighbors. They're probably our best leads.
It's early in the morning, we're going to be waking people up, but we need to do that to find out if there's anybody out there who heard or saw anything that would help in this investigation.
Real guns are real loud. They are startlingly loud. This is a .45 caliber weapon. It's going to go kaboom. So when we conduct our neighborhood follow-up, we turn a guy.
Hey, CSPD, sorry to bother you, but we're checking around. We're trying to find out.
I heard a gunshot.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
This individual, his name is Dale Drummond. He tells us he hears a gunshot and he is immediately awake.
Hey, I've got somebody here with some information. We're down at the end of the hallway.
It may have been close to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning before I talked to a detective, but it was not one of those nights that you could go back to sleep.
Hey, I'm Lieutenant Kenda.
Dale Drummond.
So you saw something tonight?
Yeah, I heard gunshots. Woke me up from a dead sleep, kind of freaked me out.
I have a familiarity with guns, so when I heard it, I knew pretty much right away what it was.
What happened next?
The dogs started freaking out in the backyard.
He looks out in the yard. He sees 2 humans. Silhouettes only. It's dark. He has no outside light in his backyard. And they are scaling a 6-foot fence. He can't even describe them because of the darkness. But when they're scaling the fence, he hears one of them say, "Hurry up, let's get out of here." And it's a male voice. Then over the fence they go, into the car, and gone.
That's all I can tell.
Dale's tip gives detectives a much-needed break.
So now we not only have a Mr. X, Mr. X has a friend. It can be good that there is more than one involved. Catch one, you catch the other one.
Thank you. No problem.
Based on Dale's statement, we're very interested in following the path that these individuals may have taken, looking for physical evidence, anything that might help in this case.
Dale said he saw the guys go over the fence somewhere in here.
A 6-foot privacy fence doesn't sound like a formidable obstacle, but in reality it is. You do a lot of scrambling before you actually get over this thing.
Should be some scuff marks or damage where they went over.
Yeah, look at this. Right here.
There's fresh scuff marks on the fence.
Pretty much gives us the exact location where they went over.
What's that?
It's a piece of a wristwatch, maybe?
Let's bag it.
Now, somebody goes over the fence. They're grabbing with anything they got. Did they break their watch? I think so.
Let's see if we find the rest of the watch around here.
Now we look for a watch, we don't find one, but we've got the watch strap. That could be significant.
But a watch strap isn't all the 2 suspects left behind.
Hey, Lieutenant. Got something for you.
On the other side of the fence, we actually find a package of cigarettes, a generic brand packet of cigarettes.
Generic brand cigarettes are less expensive than the named brands of cigarettes.
Looks like our guys smoked the cheap stuff. Well, they've definitely been left here in the last day or so. Otherwise, it'd be funky laying out here in the grass. Let's go ahead and bag them.
So we're considering all this, and we don't have a lot, but we got more than we had to begin with. Maybe we can turn this pack of cigarettes and that watch band into 2 dudes. Wouldn't that be nice?
Then, as luck would have it, a new lead falls right into Kenda's lap.
Go for Kenda.
We get a call that there's somebody at the police station who says that he's a good friend of Curtis Ashley's, and he thinks he might know who's responsible for this. Well, this is getting better by the minute.
10-4 will be right there. Kenda out. Want to keep searching? Let me know if we find anything else.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
This is Gary Cobalt.
Hi, Gary. Have a seat. Thanks for coming in. I understand you have some information about the murder of Curtis Ashley.
His ex-girlfriend did it.
Well, that's a pretty direct accusation. Why don't you explain that, Gary? Why do you think that's the case?
Hannah and Curtis fought all the time.
I can't live like this anymore!
They're always breaking up, on again, off again. But this last time they broke up, she was telling everyone she put a contract out on him.
Really?
She said, "I want that son of a bitch dead."
He further explains that he is well aware that Hannah is friends with violent gang members, and that therefore he believes that she has the ability to perhaps carry out a specified murder for hire, with Curtis being the victim.
Curtis was so terrified he started sleeping with a gun.
Well, no. He was sleeping with a gun, wasn't he?
Here, I'm going to ask you an odd question.
Okay.
What kind of cigarettes do you smoke?
I
used to tell my detectives, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust my mother, and she's been dead for 11 years.
No, I don't smoke.
Ever have?
So Hannah obviously becomes the focus of our case. Could it be that Hannah had this guy killed? Yes, it could. The femme fatale. We've learned a lot in this case so far about the death of Curtis Ashley. Not enough, of course, but now we have a point of focus.
A witness, a broken watch, and a pack of cigarettes lead Kenda to believe 2 men killed Curtis. But now Kenda suspects a scheming ex-girlfriend may also be involved.
We have Miss Anna Tracy, who is alleged to be the mastermind of Curtis's death.
She's our next step. We want to find out, is she involved in this? Did she do this?
Hannah opens the door in this low-cut jumpsuit affair,
Can I help you?
and obviously is a woman who is very taken by her own appearance.
I'm Lieutenant Kenda, and this is Detective Ritz. We're investigating the death of Curtis Ashley.
Of course you are. Come in.
She knows why we're there. She knows that we're coming. She's not surprised that we're there.
Iced tea? Water, maybe?
No, thank you.
She is someone of interest to me. Why do you behave like this? Why do you dress like this?
Please. Sit down.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. Some people told us she put a contract out on Curtis. Now Curtis ends up dead.
I just said I had a contract on Curtis. Do I really look like that kind of girl? Look, detectives, it's a long story. Did you know Curtis was a drug addict?
Well, no, I didn't know that. So I asked her to explain. What do you mean, a drug addict?
Well, he used and he sold so he can use. We were always broke. That's why we kept breaking up. Curtis! Curtis! Are you serious?
Baby, what do you want from me? I swear to God I'm trying to quit.
The minute you say drugs and then you say dead guy, this is an enormous complication when they're both uttered in the same breath.
And the guys he had money to started coming around here, roughing him up, threatening me.
You know I'm good for the money, man. If you don't pay me, you are a dead man.
Is this while you were together or after you broke up?
Both. Anyway, I figured if I started telling everybody I had a hit on Curtis, and those guys who were after him, they'd know we weren't together anymore. And that I wasn't someone they wanted to mess with.
Hannah's concerned for her own welfare, so she's building a protective wall through threats or veiled threats to try to get these people to leave her alone.
After we listen to her, it becomes apparent to me that this is not Hannah, the contract murderer.
There are now a lot of different reasons why he might be killed. If he was dealing drugs, was he dealing with the wrong person? Did he cheat somebody?
Well, assuming your story is true, can you think of anyone that would want Curtis dead?
Probably Panhead Glenn. He owed Glenn money for drugs.
Panhead Glenn? Now, Panhead was a design of a Harley-Davidson motorcycle engine. Glenn is an owner of a Panhead Harley. Hence, they call him Panhead Glenn. She says that Glenn is an ex-con. He's done time for shooting people in the past. Well, that's interesting. Not only does he have maybe a reason to be mad at Curtis, but he has experience.
So how do you know Panhead Glenn so well?
Well, we kind of had a thing for a while.
Had or have?
Well, you know, feelings, they come and they go.
When's the last time you saw Curtis?
Just last week, he helped me out moving some stuff. We even talked about getting a drink soon.
So you were thinking about getting back together with him?
I like this mix. The 3 most common motives in murder: money, sex, and revenge. We have money, and now we've introduced sex. That's starting to work for me.
Okay, well, thank you for your help, and I'm sorry for your loss.
So we turn to leave, and she follows us outside. And she turns to me, and she's trying to be cute. And she asks me,
Hey, do you have a light?
she pulls out a pack of cigarettes. I'm very curious about that. She doesn't know I was curious about it.
Yes, I do.
But it's not the generic brand that's found in that backyard. It's a major brand.
No problem.
I lit her cigarette and we moved on.
Kenda isn't sure he believes all of Hannah's story, but it rings true enough to turn their attention to the man known as Panhead Glenn.
Glenn Sapp did time for first-degree assault. You want to pay him a visit?
Let's go check with narcotics, see what we got on him first.
Convicts don't respond out of fear, they only respond out of pressure. We want to put ourselves in a position where we've got some kind of a hammer on Panhead before we ever talk to him about Curtis Ashley.
Hey, Sterling.
Hey, Lieutenant, how you doing?
Good. Hey, you guys know a guy that goes by the name of Panhead Glenn?
As a matter of fact, we do. We got an active investigation of this guy right now.
He's a player. He doesn't move a lot of weight, but he moves some.
Yeah, we're looking at him for murder. You guys got anything on him that we could use?
Enough for a search warrant.
They have enough to get a search warrant for his house to find drug evidence, and if it is found in his home, he gets arrested for it. This is excellent pressure. That is terrific news.
All right, you want to get on that? You want to give the SWAT team a call?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
The Narcotics Division agrees to collaborate with Homicide and conduct a surprise visit to the home of Panhead Glenn.
Anytime you conduct a raid involving narcotics, you take a lot of people with you, so there's no resistance, and you take a dog because it's a lot easier to use the dog rather than spend all night in there trying to find something the dog can find in 30 seconds.
Step that way. Any children or animals inside? No. What's your name?
The man identifies himself as Derek Peters, not Glenn Sapp. But the search quickly proves to be a fruitful one for narcotics.
Because we surprised him with our arrival, there's half a key of cocaine on the coffee table, in plain view. And the dog immediately goes over it, like, look at this, boys.
Hey, Lieutenant. About this guy hiding in the closet.
What's your name?
Glenn Sapp.
Excellent. Arrest him.
Change my back.
Well, now. So the search continues. But nonetheless, he's in possession of Schedule II controlled substance. It's a felony, and he is a parolee. And now, therefore, we own him. He's arrested and charged.
As the canine team sweeps the final room of the house, the dog detects something else of interest.
As they approach one of the bedrooms, the dog just goes crazy.
Lieutenant, I think we got something else in here.
What's going on?
There's a pile of dirty laundry on the floor, and it starts to move.
Now's the time to reveal yourself.
There's someone underneath there. You better come out now.
We're at Panhead Glenn's house, and we have a couple of people in custody already, and we're about to apparently have a third one under a pile of dirty laundry.
For your own safety, now's the time to reveal yourself.
So this woman stands up out of these dirty clothes, and she is so frightened she's visibly shaking.
It's kind of like Really? You couldn't find a better place to hide than that?
Who are you?
I'm Kitty. I surrender.
Step out here.
Kitty reveals that she is the wife of Derek Peters.
Kitty is obviously our weak link, because that dog had put the fear of God in her. So we talked to her right away.
You live here?
Yes.
You all live here? Yes. Have you always lived here together? Yes. All three of us, we live here together. Okay.
Where were you last night?
I was home.
How about Derek and Glenn?
Miles, this is really coming home.
It's not a far stretch to think that maybe Derek is the second individual involved.
One more thing.
I look on the coffee table, there's a pack of generic cigarettes. The right kind of generic cigarette. The same brand that was in the backyard.
You smoke spades?
No, I hate those.
Whose are those?
Glenn or Derek's, they both smoke those.
Oh, really? That's very convenient.
Let's go.
Kitty is taken into custody for the possession of the cocaine that was found in the house. She's taken over to the Narcotics Bureau. Derek and Glenn are both transported down to the Homicide Bureau for further interviews.
All right, Glenn. Why don't you tell me how you know Curtis Ashley?
Curtis, who?
Brian Ritz is talking to Glenn, and I'm watching from behind a mirror.
Curtis Ashley. Curtis Ashley.
Don't know anybody by that name.
He's a very cocky, smug kind of guy.
He don't know nothing about nothing. He knows his name is Glenn. Reasonably sure his last name is Sepp, and he never heard of anybody named Curtis Ashley.
See, we think you do know Curtis, Glenn. Matter of fact, we think you have business dealings with him.
Not me.
He's denying anything. He wants to know why he's there. Even when we point out there's a lot of drugs in the house, he comes up with some bizarre statement.
Oh, well, you know what? My ex-wife recently died, and they did drop off a bunch of her boxes at my place, and I haven't had a chance to go through them, so she may have had drugs in there, but, you know, they weren't mine.
Oh, please. So your tragically dead ex-wife is in fact responsible for the drugs. You forgot to say the elephant stepped on your homework. You forgot that part.
Glenn, we found half a kilo of cocaine on your coffee table, right out in the open.
You know what? Why don't you give me a few days? I'll find a good lawyer and, you know, then I'll come back and talk to you.
Glenn, you're already under arrest for the drug charges. Stand up. I know.
With Glenn refusing to talk, detectives face an uphill battle making a murder charge stick.
I can't prove Glenn did anything other than he's got dope in his house. I need either something to be found in that house, or I need Derek to tell me where they went that night and what they did when they got there. So I checked with my officers doing the search, and I said, so what do we got?
This is Kenda.
Yes, Lieutenant.
So what have you found so far? Did you uncover a gun?
No gun. But I got something else for you. You got a watch with a broken off buckle.
Ooh, I like that.
The officer tells Kenda the watch was found on Derek Peters' dresser.
Oh, that's perfect. I need to bring that down here immediately.
Yes, sir. I'll send it right over.
So we have found the part of the watch that wasn't attached to the fence in Curtis Ashley's neighbor's backyard.
That's a key piece of evidence to tie him to this case.
So, Derek, last night your wife said you and Glenn went out?
Yeah, we went to the carnival.
Okay.
You know, went on some rides, walked around, had some drinks, and came home. I didn't find out about Curtis Ashley until the next day.
Yeah, right. The only way you get a confession is pressure. When you apply the pressure and you continue to tighten the screws, that's when you get somewhere.
you wear a watch there?
Used to, but the band broke.
Does that look familiar to you? Go ahead, open it up.
Now he's rattled. He's looking at that buckle and his mind is racing. Where'd you get that?
Because this, we found in your room. And that, we found stuck in a fence behind Curtis Ashley's apartment. We're looking to you for this murder.
I said, Derek, you know where this is going. You're going to jail. Maybe for a very long time. He drops his head and starts looking at the floor. This is the moment you wait for. Surrender. Emotionally, he has surrendered. We now know that Derek and Glenn Sapp are responsible for the death of Curtis Ashley. No longer a mystery. So now we need Derek to tell us that, and he's about to.
Tell me what happened, Derek. Just say the words.
Look, I didn't know he had a gun.
Okay, that's good. Tell me how it started.
Well, we went to the carnival. We had a couple drinks.
Man, Curtis is really pissing me off, man.
Yeah?
He's owed me money for months now. Always got an excuse.
Yeah, he's total scum.
Damn right.
He gets more and more distressed, and he starts telling Derek how he can't let this go, because if he does, the word gets out there that you don't have to pay Glenn, because Curtis never paid Glenn. So he says while they're there, they're drinking, they're talking about this, they see Hannah there.
Hey, Hannah.
Hey, guys.
Well, hey yourself, sweet thing.
And she's important to him. Her affections are important to him.
Do you know where Curtis is? We need to talk to him.
Yeah, I saw him earlier today.
I thought you two weren't talking.
Well,
Glenn believes that Hannah hates Curtis. Well, she doesn't. And she's playing with Glenn's emotions. She says, we're in a better place now and we're fine. And Glenn is like, what?
Look, I don't want you talking to him.
Glenn is already upset. And now Hannah shows up and pours gasoline on the flame.
hey, look, I gotta go. My kids are waiting on me.
You see you tomorrow?
Maybe.
Glenn decides they're going to go over there and confront Curtis. Derek's opinion is they're going to get the money and then Glenn's going to calm down and they're going to leave. That's what he believes is going to happen.
Let's check the front door before we try the windows.
The apartment door was unlocked, and they actually just walked in.
Who's there?
Glenn sees that there's a gun, and he immediately fires one shot. And they run. They do what fear drives you to do. They run. 1.
With Derek Peters' statement in tow, prosecutors elicit a confession from Glenn Sapp, who admits to killing Curtis Ashley over a drug debt. Though Hannah claimed Curtis abused cocaine, the autopsy report was inconclusive.
Derek was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Glenn was subsequently charged with accessory to murder, pled guilty to that, and was sentenced to 8 years in prison.
Curtis Ashley lives on this planet for 28 years, not 29, because he loses his life over a drug debt and the presumed involvement with a female. And who is Hannah? Well, Hannah is a musician. She's plucking everybody's strings and making noise, but it's not music. It was clearly Anna's intent to stir the pot with a radioactive spoon between Glenn Sapp.
It starts with a headline: Chicago 1995 cold case solved. Arrest shocks community. A neat line of text, black on white, the kind of thing that flashes for 3 seconds on a TV lower third, then vanishes. But behind that single sentence is a girl who never came home, a winter that never ended for one family, and a city that still isn't sure what really happened on one cold March night on the west side of Chicago. Before the cameras, before the press conferences, before anyone called it a cold case, it was just a Thursday, March 16th, 1995, the kind of Chicago night where the wind cuts sideways, picking up trash, snow, and secrets, slamming them all against brick. Streetlights buzz, L-tracks rattle, sirens come and go like background noise. On West Lexington, people lock their doors early and pretend not to hear anything at all. Her name is Danielle Carter, 19 years old. Community college student, part-time cashier at a late-night pharmacy on Western Avenue, big dreamer with a tiny room and a narrow brick 2-flat. She collects newspaper clippings about the city, sticks them on her wall with tape, missing persons, big arrests, crime charts, bold headlines. One day, she tells her younger brother, "I'll be the one writing these." He laughs. The city has other plans. Danielle finishes the late shift at 11:02 p.m. Cameras inside the store catch her wiping down the counter, counting the drawer, stuffing tip money and a folded bus transfer into her pocket. She waves goodbye to her manager, steps out through the front door, and disappears into the glare of a flickering neon sign. The camera sees her push the glass door. The camera sees the door slowly swing shut. After that, nothing. The route home is simple: Western bus south, 3 stops, walk 2 blocks east, 1 north, 15, maybe 20 minutes in that kind of weather. She's done it hundreds of times. Her mother can set her watch by the sound of Danielle's keys in the front lock. On this night, that sound never comes. 11:45 p.m. The living room clock ticks too loud. The TV glows blue in an otherwise dark room. Her mother dozes on the couch, half awake, half listening for the familiar rattle of keys, the thump of boots on the stairs. The neighborhood is noisy but predictable. Distant horns, someone arguing on the sidewalk, music from a car that passes too fast. Nothing feels wrong until the silence stretches just a little bit too long. 12:03 a.m. No keys, no footsteps, no Danielle. Her mother checks the kitchen, the tiny bathroom, the brother's room, even though she knows he's spending the night at a friend's. She paces back to the living room window, peels back the curtain, stares down at the street. No bus, no girl in the red coat. Just a stray dog trotting across the intersection, nose to the ground like it's looking for something too. 12:27 a.m. Danielle's mother calls the pharmacy. The manager answers, groggy, annoyed. Yes, she left on time. Yes, she was alone. No, nothing seems strange. Maybe she met a friend. Maybe she missed the bus. Maybe she just needed some air. "Give it a bit," he says. "She's a good kid. She'll walk in." He hangs up. She doesn't feel better. By 1:41 a.m., the living room is a storm. Phone calls, pacing, whispered prayers, panic flooding every corner. The mother calls hospitals. No one by that name. No Jane Doe matching that description. She calls a cousin with a car. They circle the blocks along Western, past bus stops, alleys, convenience stores with metal grates half pulled down. They see faces, huddled figures, shadows that might be her for a half second. But every time they get closer, it's not Danielle. It's never Danielle. At 3:12 a.m., they go to the district station. The fluorescent lights hum. A board officer behind thick glass slides a clipboard through the opening and says the thing every family of a missing person hears sooner or later. Maybe she just needed to get away for a while. The mother pushes the clipboard back, knuckles white. She doesn't just get away, she says. She comes home. Every night, she comes home. The officer nods, not unkindly, but his eyes tell a different story. Runaway, argument, boyfriend, drugs, anything but what it really is. In the official report, the early hours are thin. Last seen at work, believed to be heading home, did not arrive. Possible voluntary absence. No known enemies, no known threats. 19 years old, black, female, 5'5", red coat, the kind of details that fit on half a page and then slide under a stack of more urgent problems in a city where bodies drop almost every night. Morning comes slowly, gray and bitter. The pharmacy opens. The bus route stays the same. People hurry past each other with collars up and heads down. On the corner, a flyer goes up on a lamppost. Missing. A school picture of Danielle, smiling in a way that feels wrong now, too bright, like a promise the city never intended to keep. Below her photo, a phone number, a description, a plea. By noon, the neighborhood knows. News travels faster than patrol cars. The lady at the laundromat hears from a cousin. The barber hears from a customer. Kids hear from kids. Everyone has a theory, and none of them make sense. Some swear they saw her on the bus, talking to someone tall in a dark hoodie. Others say they heard a scream near the alley by the pharmacy, but it might have been a TV, a radio, an argument. Memory bends under pressure. People want to help, but they also want to sleep at night, and those two desires are at war. Detectives finally show up on Friday, two men in suits that don't fit right, faces carved by long hours and short fuses. They're not cruel, just tired. They stand in the small living room surrounded by family photos and the smell of coffee that's been reheated too many times. They ask about boyfriends, fights, money, secrets. They ask if Danielle was unhappy, if she ever said she wanted to leave Chicago, if she hung out with anyone the family wouldn't approve of. Every question feels like a small accusation. Her mother hands them a folder, report cards, pay stubs, bus passes, a copy of her class schedule, even a crumpled story Danielle wrote about being a journalist one day. She doesn't disappear, her mother repeats, voice cracking. Someone took her. The detectives write that down, but they don't underline it. Not yet. They pull the tapes from the pharmacy. They watch Danielle's last shift on a monitor in a cramped back office that smells like old coffee and mop water. She looks fine. She looks normal. She laughs at a joke from a customer, rolls her eyes at the register when it jams, rubs her temples once when the phone won't stop ringing. 11 o'clock hits. She puts on her red coat. She waves. She leaves. The tape freezes on the image of her hand on the door handle, the reflection of her face distorted in the glass. That's the last time any camera ever sees her. They canvass the route home. Officers knock on doors, step into small front halls smelling of fried onions and dust. Did you see this girl? Photos flash, questions repeat. Some say yes and can't give details. Some say no but stare at the picture too long. A few say they saw a dark sedan idling at the corner around that time. Lights off, engine on. No one caught a plate. No one got a good look. The sedan melts into the background noise of the city. Sirens, trains, distant arguments, forgotten secrets. Day 2 turns into day 5. Posters spread. Flyers get wet, curl at the edges, peel from metal poles, drift along the gutters. Local TV runs a 30-second segment. 19-year-old woman missing, last seen leaving work late Thursday night. Police urge anyone with information to come forward. Her school photo fills the screen. Then the anchor's voice pivots to sports, the Bulls, the weather. The world keeps moving. Her family can't. A week later, the case already feels old. New files stack on top of hers. New victims, new scenes. Danielle becomes one more name in a long list, the one detectives talk about in the car between calls. You think she ran off? One asks. The other shrugs. Maybe. Or maybe she's in Indiana by now. Or maybe she's 2 blocks away and no one's opened the right door. They go where the radio sends them. The city decides what matters. But the neighborhood doesn't forget. Not yet. Kids point at the flyers. Mothers pull their daughters closer when the streetlights flicker on. Men who used to linger outside the corner store at midnight now check their watches and head indoors early. Fear changes routines. Fear rearranges maps in people's heads. The walk to the bus stop is suddenly a minefield. It's 11 days after Danielle disappears when the phone rings at the district station. A jogger, early morning, off his usual route because the sidewalks are still icy. He's in Douglas Park, near a cluster of trees by the lagoon, where snow piles into dirty ridges and the ground underneath is more mud than earth. He sees something red at the base of a tree. At first he thinks it's a piece of cloth, a lost scarf, someone's trash. Then he gets closer, then he starts screaming. Officers arrive first, then the detectives, then the van. The park is quiet, gray, almost peaceful, if you don't look in the wrong direction. They push the jogger back, wrap him in a blanket, tell him to sit on a bench and breathe. He can't stop staring at his shoes, at the mud, at the thin streaks of red he swears weren't there yesterday. Under the tree, half covered by snow, turned pink and brown, lays the red coat. Inside it, a body, frozen, stiff, bruised. The face is swollen, the hair is matted. But the size, the clothes, the broken jewelry scattered in the mud, all of it tells a story the mother on West Lexington already knows in her bones. The detectives look at each other. One of them swears under his breath. The other just closes his eyes for a second too long. Word leaks out before anyone makes a call. It always does. A paramedic texts a cousin calls a neighbor runs down the block. By the time the official car pulls up outside the family's building, people are already gathering on the sidewalk, holding their breath, clutching coats tight. The mother sees the car through the window and collapses before the knock even lands on the door. Possible homicide, the first forensic note reads. Signs of blunt force trauma, possible ligature marks, body exposure to elements complicates exact time of death. In the margins, someone scribbles, dumped, not killed here. The tree doesn't matter, the park doesn't matter, not in the way that counts. Somewhere else in the city, in the dark, something happened to Danielle. This is just where she was left. The autopsy answers a few questions and opens twice as many. No drugs in her system, no clear defensive wounds, or at least none that stand out once the cold and time have done their work. There are bruises on her wrists and throat. There are fibers under her nails that don't match her clothes. There's a faint chemical smell the coroner can't quite place. Something sharp and industrial clinging to strands of her hair. The official cause of death, asphyxiation. The unofficial impression, rage. News crews come back. The story grows teeth. Missing teen found dead in park, the lower third screams. Community in shock. Cameras pan across the playground. They zoom in on the tree. They catch shots of kids staring from behind police tape, parents dragging them away. Voiceovers talk about fear, about the dangers of walking home alone, about predators in the night. They don't talk about how many times the mother called before anyone listened. That doesn't fit the segment. Detectives now have a body, a coat, some fibers, an approximate window. What they don't have is a face, not the one in the morgue. The other one. The one who watched Danielle leave the pharmacy, who followed her. The one who steered a dark sedan through side streets where no one bothers to look up. The one who chose a park instead of a river, a tree instead of a ditch, a public place instead of a hidden one, as if they wanted her to be found, just not too soon. In the weeks that follow, the case gets bigger. But bigger doesn't mean clearer. More tips, more phone calls, more cranks, more psychics, more neighbors sure they saw something and terrified they might have. The city whispers about a stalker, a serial predator, a gang initiation gone wrong, a secret life the family didn't know about. Stories multiply. Hard facts remain thin. And somewhere in a cramped office under buzzing fluorescent lights, someone stamps a word on the manila folder with Danielle's name on it. Not yet. Not in 1995. Not while the funeral flowers are still fresh. But the city is busy. Files move. Priorities shift. Years pass. Witnesses move away. Evidence boxes settle into the back of a storage room, dust gathering like a second layer of silence. It will take decades before anyone dares to pull that folder back into the light and type the words that will one day become a headline. Chicago, 1995 cold case solved. But tonight, in March of 1995, there is no solution. There is only a mother sitting in a dark apartment holding a red coat that no longer has a daughter inside it, and a city that pretends the wind is the only thing howling in the streets. The red coat is buried 2 days after the funeral. Not in the ground with Danielle, but in the back of a closet, zipped into a clear plastic garment bag that fogs with her mother's breath as she closes it. She can't throw it away, can't look at it, can't stop thinking about its weight in her hands, stiff from the cold, heavy with questions. It hangs there like a ghost, silent but louder than any siren outside. In this house, the calendar stops on March 1995. Outside, the city flips the page and keeps walking. At the station, the case is hot for exactly as long as the cameras care. Detectives Ruiz and Harper work it hard at first. 2 desks pushed together, styrofoam cups, ashtrays overflowing, a map of the West Side with red circles that keep spreading outward like a slow explosion. Pharmacy, bus stops, alleyways, park. They take calls, follow tips, chase rumors. Every day starts with the same question: what did we miss? Every night ends with the same answer: everything. The first suspect walks into the story on a grainy surveillance tape from a liquor store 2 blocks from the pharmacy. Time stamped at 11:09 p.m., 9 minutes after Danielle locked up. A tall man in a dark jacket, hood up, hands jammed in his pockets. He steps halfway into frame, glances toward the pharmacy down the block, then steps back into shadow. He doesn't buy anything. He doesn't look at the camera. He just waits, like he's watching a clock no one else can see. By the time the detectives pull the tape, he's already a ghost. They take stills, blow them up, pin them to the board. Possible person of interest, someone writes under the blurry face. No one recognizes him. Not the pharmacy staff, not the bus drivers, not the regulars from the corner. He's just tall guy in hoodie, the universal figure you can paste into 100 unsolved cases. Every time they look at his smudged outline, they feel the same thing. Frustration, that low burn beneath the ribs that never goes away. Rumors say Danielle had a boyfriend no one knew about. The detectives lean in. Secret relationships make headlines, and headlines get attention, and attention sometimes shakes something loose. They ask her friends, classmates, co-workers. A name surfaces: Marcus. No last name, no address, just Marcus from the bus stop. Marcus with the headphones. Marcus who sometimes walked her halfway home and then vanished into side streets. No one ever saw him at her building. No one got his number. In 1995, not everyone writes their entire life down in a phone. They build a profile out of scraps. Male, early 20s, lives nearby, no car, or at least no car people noticed. Likes music, knows the bus schedule, knows her route. Step 1, Harper says, tapping his pen. Find Marcus. Step 1 turns out to be like looking for a shadow at midnight. They ride buses, show Danielle's photo, ask about a guy with headphones. The drivers shrug. You just described half my route, one says. The file gets another stapled page, another dead end. The family insists there's no secret boyfriend. Her mother swears she would have known. Her brother says Danielle joked about dating when I have time. Her co-workers talk about her crush on the idea of leaving Chicago, not on any actual guy. Her type was not from here, one girl laughs sadly. Still, the detectives can't shake Marcus. Anonymous, untraceable, perfect in the worst way. The worst. Then a call comes in from a woman on the next block over. She doesn't want to give her name at first. Her voice shakes. She says she heard something the night Danielle disappeared. A car door slam. A short scream, tires on slush. I thought it was just a couple fighting, she admits. You hear things, you know? You mind your business. Guilt brings her forward 11 days too late. Ruiz and Harper visit her apartment, 3rd floor, peeling paint, window facing the exact alley Danielle would have crossed if she'd gotten off the bus where they think she did. The woman points through the glass. There, she says, by the dumpster. I heard a voice, a girl's voice, say stop or no or something like that. Then a thump, then a door slam, then the engine. She squeezes her eyes shut, replaying it. I should have looked. I should have called. The detectives don't say what they're thinking. Yes, you should have. Can she describe the car? Dark, she says. Big, not new, not shiny. 3/4 of the cars in the city qualify. Can she describe the man? I didn't see him. I just heard him. Low voice, angry. That's it. They thank her. They write it up. The lead narrows the window. What time, what block, but it doesn't give them what they need. No plate, no face, just a scream dissolving into wind. The crime lab comes back with their first real physical clue, the fibers. Under Danielle's nails, in the lining of her coat, clinging to the back of her sweater. Synthetic, medium denier, consistent with car upholstery or industrial carpeting. Not from the bus she usually took, not from the pharmacy, not from her home, a somewhere else. A nowhere they can point to. They compare it to samples from junkyards, tow lots, auto shops. Nothing that screams yes, everything whispers maybe. The chemical smell in her hair gives them more to chew on. The coroner notes something like solvent, like paint thinner's cousin. The lab narrows it down, a petroleum-based degreaser, the kind used in auto garages, machine shops, some industrial laundries. Welcome to Chicago, city of 1,000 places that reek of exactly that. They pull business licenses. They make a list. It runs 2 pages, single-spaced. Garages, warehouses, repair shops, print shops, factories. Ruiz looks at it and rubs his eyes. We're supposed to walk into every shop in the West Side and ask, hey, anybody murder a girl in here? Harper shrugs. You got a better plan? They start knocking on doors. Mechanics in oil-stained jumpsuits squint at the photos. Some flinch at the sight of Danielle's face. Some don't. Most say they never saw her. A few say they might have somewhere, but can't be sure. No one volunteers a co-worker with a temper, a weird vibe, a sudden flurry of family emergencies in late March. Men who spend their lives around noise and fumes are very good at not hearing what they'd rather not know. Weeks pass. Spring struggles in. Snow melts into puddles that reflect turned-away faces. The park where she was found starts to fill with joggers again, with kids chasing each other near the water, careful not to go too near the tree they all know now. Someone ties a ribbon around the trunk. Someone else leaves flowers in a plastic cup. Maintenance crews toss the flowers when they wilt. The ribbon stays. In the newspapers, the story shrinks. Big headline becomes sidebar, then single column, then nothing. The first article screamed, mystery killer stalks West Side. The last one reads, police seek leads in teen's death, then gives way to a new wave of headlines. Mayoral scandals, sports scores, another drive-by, another body. The media moves on. The family can't. Inside the Carter apartment, Danielle's room stays exactly as she left it. Posters on the wall, textbooks on the desk, clippings of crime stories taped near her bed. Her mother starts to treat it like a shrine, straightening things that don't need straightening, dusting objects that aren't dusty. At night, she sits on the edge of the bed and talks to a photograph, asking questions that never get answers. Who did this? Did you know him? Were you scared? Did you think someone would come? Her brother, 15 now, goes the other way. He avoids the room, avoids questions, avoids sleep. He walks faster at night, watches every car that slows near a curb, memorizes faces without realizing it. The world is flipped for him. The threat isn't strangers. It's the familiar street where his sister vanished between 2 bus stops. He stops riding the bus. He walks miles instead, hands in pockets, shoulders up. People think he's trying to look tough. He's just trying to look like a boy no one would bother. At the station, the detectives feel the case cooling. Not overnight, not with a slam, but like a pot left on a burner that's been turned down to low. They still work it. They still chase leads. But other cases crowd in. Fresh blood, fresh scenes, fresh chaos. Supervisors push. Clearance rates matter. Homicides stack up. You can't live in one file, the lieutenant tells them. You'll drown. Oh. They don't drown, they tread water, they hold Danielle's file above the surface as long as they can. They look for patterns. Other girls, other parks, other redcoats. They find plenty of bodies, plenty of stories, but nothing that lines up the way they need. No matching fibers, no familiar chemical smell, no repeated method. Just random cruelty scattered across a map. Summer of 1995 hits hot and violent. Heat brings tempers up and windows open. Gunshots echo deeper into the night. Ruiz gets pulled into a gang shooting on the south side. Harper draws a domestic that spirals into a barricade, and another dead woman whose name the city will learn for exactly 48 hours. Their time for Danielle shrinks to an hour here, a half shift there, stolen pieces of attention around other people's tragedies. By fall, the detectives can recite the case file by heart. They don't even need to open it to see the pages, the autopsy report, the printouts of the map, the photo of tall guy in hoodie, the statement from the unnamed woman in the third-floor apartment, the list of garages that went nowhere. They sit in the break room sometimes, coffee cooling, and run through it like a bad prayer. Pharmacy, bus, alley, car, park, tree, silence. Every few weeks, something stirs the case. A call from a prisoner claiming to have information in exchange for a deal. A letter from a psychic describing a man with dark energy and cold eyes. A rumor that a guy who used to hang out near the bus stop disappeared right after the murder. They pull at each string. Most snap immediately. Some fray for days before giving way. None lead to a name they can put on paper with arrested after it. And all the while, the fibers sit in an evidence bag. The coat sits in a box. The chemical traces dry and fade. The tape from the pharmacy stretches and distorts with every replay. This is the quiet part of a cold case, the slow, painful slide from active investigation into the archive. No dramatic door slam, no, we're done here, just an accumulating weight of nothing. When the first anniversary comes, the local paper runs a short piece. 1 year later, family seeks justice. Danielle's mother stands in front of the park tree, clutching a framed photo, wind whipping at her hair. The camera captures the tight line of her mouth, the hollowed-out eyes. "We just want answers," she says. She used to say, "We just want whoever did this." Now she's downgraded to answers. Even justice feels like too big a word to ask for. Harper and Ruiz attend the vigil. They stand at the back out of the circle of candles. They've both caught new cases this week. They both feel the drag of paperwork and deadlines and bosses breathing down their necks about numbers, percentages, optics. They also feel the gaze of the mother when she spots them, a mix of gratitude and accusation. Are you still trying? Are you still mine? Or have you filed my daughter away? "We're not done," Harper tells her in a low voice before they leave. "We're not closing this." She nods, but her eyes don't soften. She's learning the language of investigations. Not done doesn't mean moving. Not closed doesn't mean open. A case can be technically active and practically frozen at the same time. Time stretches. 2 years, 3, 5. The city changes. New mayors, new buildings, new headlines. The Carter apartment does not. The redcoat still hangs in the closet. The calendar on one wall is permanently stuck in 1995. The clippings Danielle taped up as inspiration now look like cruel foreshadowing. Other women, other murders, other unanswered questions stamped with bold type. The brother grows up. He leaves the neighborhood, but it doesn't leave him. He keeps his distance from the park, from Western Avenue, from anything that smells remotely like solvents or cold metal. He works nights sometimes, and every time he locks a door behind him and steps into the dark, he feels the echo of his sister's last walk, the fragile line between normal commute and headline. Ruiz transfers to another unit. Harper takes a promotion. The file gets reassigned, then reassigned again. New detectives flip through it, frown at the yellowing pages, shake their heads at the thinness of the leads. They add notes in different handwriting, attach new forms, try a few fresh angles. But without DNA tech that can pull miracles from trace evidence, without new witnesses, without a confession, Danielle's case becomes what cops hate to admit exists. One of those, the ones that sit, the ones that haunt. Years later, a phrase starts to creep into conversations at the department when someone mentions her name. That old cold case from 95. Cold. As if the air that night wasn't already sharp enough. Cold, like the park soil beneath the snow. Cold, like the evidence boxes in the back of property where the fluorescent lights flicker and no one goes unless they have to. Chicago collects cold cases like it collects weather fronts, constantly, relentlessly. Some never get a second look. Some get reopened when a new detective with something to prove digs in. Some wait for science to catch up. Some wait for a guilty conscience to crack. Danielle's waits for all of it, years deep now, resting in a dark room where shelves sag under the weight of other unfinished stories. And yet, the file never disappears. Every few years, some small thing pulls it back into light. A training seminar on old homicides uses it as a cautionary tale. A new cold case unit forms, and her name appears on a list. A lab tech mentions advancements in trace analysis, and someone remembers the fibers under her nails. Each time the box is carried out, the lid is lifted, the photos are spread across another table under another buzzing light. The headline that will one day scream Chicago 1995 cold case solved doesn't exist yet, but the city is already writing the first drafts in its sleep. New technology, new eyes, new suspect, shocked community. For now, though, all anyone has is a question that keeps echoing down the years, bouncing off brick and steel in memory. Who stepped out of the shadows that night, matched their pace to a 19-year-old girl in a red coat, and walked her off the map? The box doesn't move on its own. Someone has to decide to touch it, to drag it out of the dark. That someone, on a gray morning in 2008, is a detective who wasn't even a cop in 1995. Her name is Lena Morales, 33 years old, hair pulled back in a tight knot, eyes that look like they've forgotten how to be surprised. She walks into the new cold case review unit with a stack of forms in one hand and a styrofoam cup of burnt coffee in the other, and waits for someone to tell her which ghost she's inheriting. They give her a desk near the back next to a humming radiator and a window that looks out over a brick wall. On that desk, someone drops 3 boxes. Old homicides, old nightmares, names written in faded marker across the lids. One of them says, Carter Danielle, 1995. She doesn't open it right away. She fills out employment forms, sets up her phone, pretends this is just another assignment. But the name keeps staring at her. Carter, 1995. The year she graduated high school, the year she thought Chicago's horrors were just stories on the 10 p.m. news. Later, when the office thins out and the fluorescent lights feel more like interrogation than illumination, she cracks the lid. The smell hits her first. Old paper, old tape, a faint tang of chemicals that have seeped into cardboard over years. Then the photos, crime scene shots, morgue shots, a smiling school picture that doesn't belong in the same stack but always ends up there. Danielle's face is young, hopeful, frozen in the exact opposite of what the rest of the file shows. Morales has seen a lot, but this one hooks her in the gut in a way she doesn't like. The older detectives, still hanging around the unit, notice her pause. One of them, gray-haired, with a belly that tells stories about too many stakeouts and too few days off, nods toward the box. That one's a heartbreaker, he says. Ruiz and Harper worked it until it bled. Never got a clean break. He sips his coffee, watching her eyes rake the paperwork. You were what, a kid back then? 17, she answers, eyes still on the autopsy report. I remember the headline, Girl in the Red Coat. She doesn't say the rest, how her mother turned off the TV during the story, how her father muttered something about this city eating its own, how she lay awake that night thinking about bus stops and alleys and sudden screams. She flips to the lab report. Fibers, chemical traces, a mystery car, frustration baked into every typed line. The unit's marching orders are clear. Re-examine, retest, re-interview. The city has new tools now, better DNA profiling, expanded databases, software that can cross-reference things the old-timers used to do with gut instinct and binders. The lieutenant loves to say it at briefings. Science is on your side. But science needs something to chew on, and cold cases like Danielle's are mostly bone. Still, Morales starts with the evidence log. She signs out the box from property, follows a clerk down fluorescent-lit corridors into the back where shelves groan under the weight of old crimes. Danielle's red coat isn't red anymore. Plastic and time have muted it into a muddy, dried blood color. Her sweater, her jeans, her shoes, each in their own labeled bag. A smaller bag holds scrapings from under her nails, fibers, microscopic flecks nobody knew what to do with in 95 beyond keep them just in case. This is just in case. Morales sends the fibers back to the lab with a request stamped urgent in red ink. They laugh at the urgency. Old case, no rush. But they take it. She adds a note about new comparative spectral analysis, about advanced textile databases, all the fancy words she picked up at a seminar designed to convince cops the future is here. She knows better, the future is slow and it hates paperwork. While the evidence makes its way through the bottleneck of the lab, Morales does what old detectives did before computers started pretending to be oracles. She walks. Western Avenue, the pharmacy, the bus stops, the alley where a woman once heard a scream and stayed behind glass. The pharmacy has changed hands 3 times. It's a convenience store now, bright signs selling lottery tickets and energy drinks in the windows. No one who works there now remembers Danielle. The cameras are new, smaller, sharper, blind to anything that happened before they were screwed into the ceiling. The bus stops are the same and not. New shelters, new graffiti, same wind whipping down the street. She stands where Danielle would have stood, collar up, breath blooming in the air. She traces the walk home with her own feet, counting her steps, checking alleys, imagining a sedan rolling silently to the curb. A lot of people pass her, kids with backpacks, tired workers, men who look everywhere but her face. No one pays attention to the detective moving through old shadows. In the apartment building where that unnamed woman once peered out at the alley, the buzzer still works if you jab it hard enough. A completely different woman answers now, confused but willing to let the detective into the hallway. The third-floor unit belongs to a family from somewhere else, kids running, TV blaring a game show. No one remembers the previous tenant. No one remembers a scream from 1995. Time has stripped the wall of its paint and the building of its ghosts. Back in the file, Morales hunts for anything overlooked. A partial print on the coat button too smudged for 90s tech. A casing from a nearby alley shooting that night that never matched any known weapon. A notation about a witness who moved out of state before a follow-up. She circles things in red pen, pins photocopies to a new board, builds her own map with fresh eyes. She doesn't expect miracles. She just refuses to accept that a 19-year-old girl can be erased that cleanly. The lab finally calls. The fibers are still synthetic, still consistent with automotive or industrial upholstery, but now the machines spit out a narrower profile. A specific polymer blend common in commercial fleet vehicles from the late 80s and early 90s. Vans, utility trucks, some sedans, but mostly vehicles used by companies that move things, people, packages, equipment. So, not just some random couch, Morales says into the phone. The tech agrees. No, this stuff is durable, mass-produced. Think seats that get sat on all day by people in a hurry. She adds that to her board. Not just a car, maybe a work vehicle, maybe someone on the clock. That dovetails with the chemical traces. Degreaser, oils, solvents. A person who smells like their job. A job that seeps into their clothes, into their hair, into the victims they touch. She asks the lab to rerun the chemical traces with updated libraries. The tech warns her the sample is tiny, degraded. She tells him to try anyway. It would be nice if the next thing that happened was clean and cinematic. A perfect match in a database, a name flashing on a screen, a detective bolting from her chair. That's not how it goes. What she gets instead is a half step. The chemical signature clusters most closely with cleaning agents used in industrial laundries and some large-scale vehicle depots. It narrows the universe, but narrowed still means dozens of businesses, hundreds of employees, thousands of shifts long forgotten. Morales digs into old business records, cross-referencing the addresses within a radius of Danielle's known path and the park where she was found. Some companies are gone, their phones disconnected, lots empty. Others have merged, moved, rebranded. A handful still exist, same addresses, new managers. She starts making calls, asking for lists of employees from the mid-90s. Most clerks laugh, some hang up. A few, bewildered, actually help. One name pops up twice, once on an old roster from a company that provided cleaning and maintenance for municipal buildings, once on a list of drivers for a private shuttle service whose vans crisscrossed the city at all hours. Same man, same years. A quiet blip on paper that wouldn't mean anything, except that his home address back then sat 3 blocks off Danielle's route home. On the map pinned to Morales' board, that address is a red dot that suddenly looks louder than the others. His name is ordinary, forgettable, the kind of name that blends in, that drifts through reports without catching the eye. No priors in the old system beyond a youthful, disorderly conduct. No domestic battery charges, no convictions for violence, just traffic tickets, a couple of noise complaints. The dull bureaucracy of a life recorded in fines. If he is what she thinks he might be, he's the kind who leaves as little official footprint as possible. She pulls his old file photo from a scanned HR record. Mid-20s and 95, unsmiling, eyes flat, hair cut short in a way that tries to say clean but fails to erase something coiled beneath. She prints it out, pins it next to the blown-up frame from the liquor store tape. Tall guy in hoodie, the grainy shadow from 1995 and the clean scanned face from the employee file stare at each other across 12 inches of corkboard and 13 years of silence. There's no way to say for sure. The angles are wrong, the resolution terrible. But in the set of the jaw and the slope of the nose, she sees a maybe that refuses to be ignored. The problem is, maybes don't get warrants. Maybes don't justify knocking on someone's door and dragging them back into the worst night of another family's life. She needs more. She needs something that ties this man not just to a bus route and a job in a neighborhood, but to Danielle's body, to her coat, to the chemicals trapped in her hair. She goes back to the shuttle company records, route logs, vehicle maintenance notes, assignment sheets from March 1995. Most of it is incomplete or damaged. Coffee-stained pages barely legible, but there, in messy scrawl, she finds his name again, next to a notation. Night shift cover, West Side Loop. The date column is smudged, but the month and year are clear, March 1995. Her heartbeat picks up. It's not proof, it's not enough, but it's wind in a stalled case. She tracks down the shuttle company's old lot. now used by a different business. The vans are long gone, sold, scrapped, scattered to auctions across the Midwest years ago. Any physical trace of what those seats touched is probably buried in a junkyard under a dozen other lives. She stands there anyway, among faded parking lines and new tire tracks, feeling the thinness of the air between then and now. The next move is bolder than the file justifies, and she knows it. She calls the man, uses the tone she saves for routine follow-up, an easy, practiced calm that masks the tightness winding through her shoulders. She introduces herself as a detective reviewing old records, says his name came up in connection with a business from long ago. He sounds wary, but not shocked. People get calls about old jobs sometimes, about pensions, lawsuits, background checks. She asks if he'll come down to the station to clear up a few details. It'll be quick, she promises, 15 minutes. He hesitates, then agrees. People like to believe they can step into a police station and walk back out unchanged. People like to believe innocence is armor. The appointment goes on her calendar like any other meeting, a quiet block of time in the middle of a busy week. But in her head, it's flashing in red, the first live contact with someone who might have been there that night, who might still remember the feel of a red coat under his hands. She doesn't tell the Carter family, not yet. She has seen what false hope does, how it animates faces for a few days and then hollows them out even further when the lead collapses. She goes to the park instead, the tree still standing, thicker now, the ribbon long gone. Kids play nearby, the sound of their laughter slicing through the murmur of traffic. She stands there and imagines a van pulling off the road, headlights off, engine ticking as it cools, a door sliding open to let out a burden that was once a breathing girl. In her mind, the headline is already half written. New lead emerges in 1995 West Side murder. Detectives question former shuttle driver. Community hopes for answers. But headlines lie. Headlines simplify. What she has isn't a breakthrough, it's a fracture, a hairline crack in a wall that's held for 13 years. Whether it breaks open or seals itself again depends on what walks through the station door on the day they've agreed to meet. When that day comes, the station feels simultaneously ordinary and charged. Phones ring, officers move in and out juggling forms, jokes, complaints. Somewhere a TV in the break room blares a talk show audience cheering for someone they don't know. And into that noise steps a man in a dark jacket, older now, hair thinner, shoulders slightly rounded. He walks up to the desk, gives his name, glances around with the practiced boredom of someone who's been in a station before but not often. Morales watches from the hallway for a moment, unseen, measuring. The face from the HR file has aged. Lines etch the forehead, eyes a little more tired. Still, the bones are the same. The jaw, the nose, the way he scans exits instinctively. She steps forward, hand out, voice steady. She introduces herself. He shakes her hand, his palm dry. Grip neither too firm nor too weak, middle of the road, forgettable. This shouldn't take long, she says, leading him toward an interview room. As he walks ahead of her, his shoulders fill the hallway in a way that feels suddenly, horribly familiar. For a split second, she isn't looking at a man in 2008. She's seeing a shadow on a liquor store tape from 1995, standing just at the edge of frame, waiting for a girl to lock a door and walk into the cold. The interview room is a box. 4 walls, 1 table, 2 chairs, a camera in the corner with a red light that never blinks. It smells faintly of disinfectant and old coffee, like every bad decision in the city has passed through here at some point. The man sits down slowly, testing the chair as if he expects it to give way. Morales closes the door behind them with a soft click that sounds louder than a slam. His name is Eric Lawson. It's on her pad, on the old payroll sheets, on the address history she printed and folded into thirds in her jacket pocket. On paper, he's nobody. Born here, raised here, bounced between blue-collar jobs and small, forgettable apartments. No wife, no kids, no major convictions. A long, unbroken line of almosts and maybes and not worth the detective's time. Now he's here, worth all of hers. She smiles the way she's practiced in 100 other interviews, disarming but not friendly. Thanks for coming in, Mr. Lawson. I appreciate you taking the time. He shrugs one shoulder, eyes flicking to the camera and back. You said it was about an old job. Just tying up some loose ends, she says lightly, sliding a form across the table. You worked for Metro Shuttle Services in the mid-90s, right? And for Clean Pro Maintenance before that? He glances at the form, nods. Yeah, long time ago. His voice is lower than she expected, slow, with a scrape at the edges like he's worn it down over the years. Figured nobody remembered that place. Most people don't, she agrees. But I'm not most people. She lets that hang, then flips open a thin folder, one of many, not the real one, not the box full of death and snow. Just a prop, for now. We're reviewing some old routes, contracts, that kind of thing. You drove nights sometimes? Sometimes, he says. Depends on who called in sick. West Side mostly. Hospitals, offices, some late-night pickups from the airport. He leans back, arms crossed. It looks casual, but there's tension in the cord of his neck. March of 1995, she says, making it sound like a date on an invoice, not the start of a nightmare. Ring any bells? He frowns for real now, not theatrical, not buying time. This is the face of someone genuinely digging through old dust in his head. That's, 13 years ago? He shakes his head. No, I remember the snow that winter. That's about it. She nods like that's expected. It was a rough year. She flips a page, puts down a photocopy of a route log with his name half smeared across it. Looks like you picked up some extra shifts that month. Night loop through the west side. You remember that route at all? Western, Lexington, down toward Douglas Park? A beat. A tiny stiffening of his jaw. There it is. He looks at the paper, then at her. I drove those streets, yeah. Everybody did. They don't move the roads. True, she says. The air feels heavier. You ever hear about a girl named Danielle Carter? He looks down first. It's a tell, small but clear. People who really don't know a name look up, searching their mental files. People who do know or suspect drop their eyes. It's like they're suddenly afraid someone wrote the truth on the table. I don't think so, he says, too smooth. Why? She doesn't answer with words. She answers with a photograph, sliding it across the table until it touches his knuckles. School picture, bright smile, red sweater. The kind of image that makes normal people soften, makes their shoulders fall with a tiny sigh of, what a shame. Lawson's face barely moves. The only change is in his eyes, a micro flinch, like a light turned down half a notch. That was her, Morales says quietly. 19. Disappeared March 16th, 1995. West Side. Found in Douglas Park 11 days later. Her voice is even, almost clinical. The words themselves do the damage. He clears his throat, shifts in his chair. I think I remember seeing something on the news back then. A lot of bad stuff on the news. His gaze skates over the photo, refuses to land on it. What's this got to do with me? She could hit him with everything at once, the shuttle routes, the industrial cleaners, the address near her bus stop. But people like Lawson don't crack under weight. They harden. She knows better than to stack it all in one pile. She goes the other way. Drip, drip, drip. Nothing maybe, she says, letting him feel the maybe like a lifeline. Like I said, we're reviewing. She adds another paper to the stack between them. This one a grainy still of the liquor store tape. Tall guy in hoodie, caught for one frame before history swallowed him. We pulled a lot of video from that night. Buses, corners, stores. This guy showed up just after Danielle left work, standing near Western, looking toward her block, doing a lot of waiting, not a lot of buying. He leans forward, squints. It's a terrible image, distorted, full of static, like a figure drawn on fogged glass. But the shape is there, the height, the posture, the way the shoulders hunch just slightly, hands buried deep in pockets. For a second, she sees recognition flash through his features like a power surge. Could be anybody, he says quickly. Too quickly. Hoodie, dark jacket, nighttime. That's every guy on the block. She nods. Could be. She taps the photo lightly with her finger. But I've got a list. People who lived nearby, people who worked nearby, people whose jobs put them on that street at that time. And your name is one of the few that shows up in more than one place. He stiffens. So I lived there. So I drove a route there. That make me a killer now. Her eyes stay calm, her tone steady. That makes you worth talking to. That's all this is, Mr. Lawson. A conversation. If you weren't there, if you don't know anything, you help me cross a name off the list. She pauses just long enough. You want your name off the list, right? He snorts, looks away. You say it like I got something to hide. She lets the silence answer that. Silence is where people's minds fill in the blanks with their own fears. She counts to 5 in her head, slow. On 6, he shifts again, foot tapping once against the floor. Look, he says, I drove nights, yeah. Picked people up, dropped them off. You don't remember faces after a while. It's just pick up, drop off, next. What about that night, she asks. March 16th, late, cold. Did you see her? Red coat, dark hair, walking from the pharmacy to the bus stop, maybe from the bus stop toward home. If I did, I don't remember, he says. You got me mixed up with somebody who keeps a diary. Maybe you gave her a ride, Morales suggests softly. Maybe she was cold, maybe she asked, maybe someone flagged you down. A girl alone on a late bus route. 13 years is a long time to hold on to that image, but sometimes things stick. She watches his throat bob as he swallows. I didn't give rides off route, he replies. Company policy. Company policy. As if rules have ever stood between predators and opportunity. She lets it go. For now, she pivots. You also worked for CleanPro, she notes. Industrial cleaning. Garages, depots, municipal buildings. Those places use some pretty harsh chemicals, right? Degreasers, solvents. He looks at her fully now, suspicion naked. You asking me or telling me? A little of both. She flips another page, a lab summary with most of the key parts blacked out in this copy. He doesn't need to read it. He just needs to see the format, the weight of official ink. We found traces of a petroleum-based cleaner in Danielle's hair and clothing, same type used in a lot of places you worked. She says it, then shuts up, lets the implication hang like a noose. His jaw tightens, hands flatten on the table, fingers spread. You trying to say that I put it there? I'm saying the universe of people who smell like that, who carried that stuff home on their uniforms, is small, she answers. And your name keeps swimming in that pool. He laughs, a short, ugly sound with no humor. That's your big science? You smelled like a garage once? Science gets better every year, she says evenly. We keep samples, we go back, we test again. Fibers, chemicals, skin cells that didn't mean anything back then can start telling stories now. She opens her hands, empty palms. I'm giving you the chance to tell yours before the evidence does it for you. There it is, a tiny flinch in his eyes, not big enough for a jury, big enough for her. You want my story, he says, voice sharpening. Fine. Mid-90s, I was broke. I took whatever job they gave me. Nights, graveyards, side routes nobody wanted. Drove people who never saw my face, cleaned places nobody looks at, got paid just enough to keep the lights on. I didn't hurt nobody. I didn't touch that girl. Morales studies him. The indignation sounds real enough, but real people do terrible things. Monsters aren't a separate species. They're tired men in dark jackets, drivers on night shift, cleaners with dried chemicals on their hands. There's a simple way to back that up, she says at last. We got some trace DNA from the crime scene. It's degraded, but we're rerunning it with updated methods. If you're willing to give a voluntary sample a cheek swab, we can exclude you. Get your name off that board for good. He freezes. She watches it travel through him like a chill, starting in his shoulders, moving down his spine. I haven't done anything, he says slowly. You got no reason to need my DNA. I have every reason, she counters, her voice still calm. But I don't have the power to force it without a warrant. This is your call. You say no, that's your right. You say yes, we clear you if there's no match, and I stop calling your number. Which one sounds better to you? He stares at the table, then at the door, then at the camera. The red light glows back, unemotional. His tongue runs along his teeth. Time stretches. In the hallway, someone's phone rings. Someone laughs, the normal rhythm of the station beating against the tension in this little box. I don't like being treated like I'm guilty, he mutters. Then help me prove you're not, she says. Another long moment, then he exhales, sharp, resigned. Fine, swab, whatever, then we're done. She nods like this is all routine, like her pulse hasn't just spiked. She stands, opens the door, gets the kit. The stick is sterile, wrapped in plastic that crinkles loud in the quiet. She explains the process like a nurse, not a cop. Open your mouth, swab the inside of your cheek, that's it. He complies, jaw clenched, eyes on the ceiling. She seals the sample, labels it carefully. Lawson, Eric, possible elimination. Danielle's name is on the next label over, in another box from another time. When she sits back down, she changes tone, softens it by half a notch. One more thing, she says. You lived at 23rd and Harding back then, right? He nods wary again. Yeah, so? That's 3 blocks from where she would have turned off Western for home. She says it like she's reading a weather report. You remember seeing more cops around the neighborhood after she went missing? The cops are always around, he says. Sometimes more, sometimes less. People die in this city every day. Not like that, she says. 19-year-old girl, taken off her route, dumped in a park. People remember that. His mouth tightens. For the first time, there's something almost like anger in his eyes, not just defensiveness. I remember people staring like every guy was a suspect, he says. Newspapers acting like we're all monsters. Maybe that's what you want too, a face you can put on it so everybody can sleep better. I want the right face, Morales replies. That's it. He stands up a little too fast. We done? For now, she says. If I have more questions, I'll call. She stands too, opens the door. You know where to find me if you remember anything that might help. He gives her a look like that will never happen, like he plans to scrub this room out of his head the second he steps outside. Then he's gone. Swallowed by the station noise, another man in a dark jacket disappearing into a hallway full of dark jackets. She sits back down alone and stares at the empty chair. The room feels bigger without him, but not lighter. She replays every beat in her head, every dodge, every glance, every tiny tremor in his hands. She's had liars in that chair. She's had scared innocent people in that chair too. The problem is, they don't always sound that different. The swab goes to the lab. Another line item, another test, added to a backlog that stretches months. She pushes, calls in favors, leans on the cold case priority angle until techs roll their eyes and bump her sample up a few slots. Days turn into weeks anyway. Every time her desk phone rings, she half expects the lab on the other end, voice buzzing with that rare electricity. We got something. Instead, the calls are routine. Other cases, new crimes, supervisors asking for updates. The Carter file stays open on her desk, pages fanned like a deck of bad cards. On the board, Lawson's photo sits next to the liquor store blur, a human maybe pinned in place with brass tacks. When the lab finally calls, the voice is tired, flat. no electricity. We got your results on the Lawson sample, the text says. You want the good news or the bad news? There's good news, Morales asks. Good news is there is male DNA present on the victim's clothing, he says. We confirm that with updated methods. It wasn't clear in the 90s. Bad news is it's partial as hell. Degradation, contamination, age, you name it. It's not complete enough to stand alone in court. She grips the receiver tighter. But a comparison to Lawson? Partial non-match, the text says. What we have doesn't line up with his profile on a few key markers, but with a sample this degraded, all I can really say is we can't confirm it's him. We also can't 100% say it isn't. If he had a close male relative, for example, close relative, brothers, fathers, sons, the room tilts. So I can't cross him off, she says. Not officially, he answers, and you can't hang him with it either. Sorry, Morales, the case is old, the DNA's older. She hangs up slowly. Back at the board, Lawson's face seems to stare harder now, framed by words she's scribbled over the months. Shuttle, cleaner, West Side lot, chemicals, maybe, maybe not. Somewhere beneath it all, Danielle's school photo smiles the same smile as always, unchanged, untouched by chemicals, fibers, or the politics of probability. This is what almost solved looks like. A suspect who fits too well and not well enough. Science that points and shrugs at the same time. A city that wants a headline. A family that wants a name. A detective standing in the middle, holding threads that refuse to weave into a net. She looks at the board and imagines the headline again. The one she can almost hear anchors reading with practiced gravitas. Chicago, 1995, cold case solved. Arrest shocks community. It's clean. It's satisfying. It's a lie. For now, all she really has is a softer, heavier line, the kind that never makes it to print. Chicago, 1995, cold case almost solved. Doubt still haunts every answer. There's a special kind of silence that follows the word inconclusive. It's not relief. It's not despair. It's a low, grinding hum that eats at the edges of your patience, whispers in your ear at 3 a.m, tells you that you were almost right or almost wrong, and you'll never know which. That's the sound in Morales' head after the lab call. Partial non-match, not enough to clear him, not enough to nail him. A deadlock printed in numbers and probabilities. On paper, she does what procedure demands. She adds the DNA report to the file, updates the case log, notes that Lawson remains a person of interest. She types it in calm, clinical language, her fingers hitting the keys a little harder than they need to. Off paper, she pins that feeling to the board with the same push pin that holds his photo in place. Red plastic, bright, aggressive. She could walk away. She's not married to this file. Cold case work is a buffet of tragedy. If one dish refuses to be swallowed, there are a dozen more lined up, seasoned with fresh pain, but Danielle's face won't leave her. The red coat, the bus route, the industrial smell in her hair, Lawson's eyes flicking away from the photo. It all sits under her skin like splinters. So she does the one thing the lab can't quantify. She starts asking around. Cops are archivists of gossip by nature. They collect stories the way other people collect stamps, half out of habit, half out of superstition. Morales hits the older guys first, the ones who were patrol officers on the West Side in the mid-90s, the ones with thick files and thicker memories. In break rooms and parking lots, over burnt coffee and bad vending machine sandwiches, she drops the name Lawson into conversations and watches the ripples. Most shrug. Some shake their heads, say they don't remember. One or two squint, vaguely recall a shuttle driver with that name, a guy who never caused trouble, never made a scene. Quiet type, one says. Kept his hat low, his mouth shut. Not the kind who shows up in reports. Then again, predators rarely fill out incident forms on themselves. It's not until she's standing in the smoking area behind the building, under a sky that looks like a lid screwed on too tight, that she gets her first real echo. A retired sergeant visiting old colleagues steps out to bum a cigarette, sees the Carter file under her arm, and lets out a low whistle. Still kicking that one around, he asks. Trying, she says. You remember it? Everybody remembers it, he replies. Girl in the park, red coat. People wouldn't let their kids walk to school for months. He takes a drag, squints at her. Why? You got something new? Maybe, she says. Name, Lawson, Eric, shuttle driver, cleaner, lived near Western back then. The sergeant's brow furrows. The cigarette droops a little as he thinks. Lawson. Might be mixing up cases, he mutters. There was a guy with that name that patrol used to grumble about. Creepy, they said. Nothing on paper, but the kind who'd stare a little too long at girls at the bus stop. You learn to clock that. Morales' heart gives a single hard thud. Any complaints? Reports? He shakes his head. Nah, just chatter. You know how it is. Unless somebody calls dispatch, it doesn't exist. Another drag, another cloud of smoke. There was talk he got bounced from one of his jobs for making women uncomfortable. Nothing they could prove. Boss just quietly cut him loose. That's what I heard anyway. Which company? He can't say for sure. Metro Shuttle, Clean Pro, something after that? The memory is a stack of blurred faces under flickering streetlights. The city is full of men who got quietly cut loose. She tracks down old HR managers, the ones who haven't died, moved, or forgotten everything to protect themselves. Metro Shuttle's records now live in cardboard boxes in a storage unit on the edge of the city, guarded by a woman with a clipboard and a permanent scowl. After 3 calls and 1 signed authorization, Morales steps into the cold, dusty space, the air thick with paper and regret. She finds his personnel file in a crate labeled Driver, 1994 to 1997. It's thin, job application, copy of a license, a few performance reviews with the kind of bland, meaningless phrases that fill mediocre lives. Reliable, punctual, no major issues. But in the back, stapled sideways, there's a yellowed memo. Subject: driver conduct. Date: April 3rd, 1995. A supervisor reports receiving informal complaints from 2 female passengers about one driver, initials EL, who made them uncomfortable with overly personal questions and inappropriate stares. No physical contact reported, no names recorded. Supervisor notes he spoke to driver, reminded him of company policy, no further action taken. Morales reads it twice, jaw tight. April 3rd, 2 weeks after Danielle vanished, after she was found, after every news channel showed her face and the city started seeing threats in any male shadow who stepped too close to a bus stop. 2 women spoke up about a driver, about looks and questions. The company gave him a chat and a pat on the shoulder. That's it. She photocopies the memo, the file, everything with his name on it. Back at her desk, she pins the memo next to his photo. The timeline sharpens. Lawson, working nights on the west side in March 95. Lawson, living near her route. Lawson, linked to the chemicals and the fibers by job, if not yet by law. Lawson, talked to by his boss after multiple women said he made their skin crawl on the heels of a very public murder of a young woman on his turf. It still isn't proof, but it's motive adjacent, it's pattern adjacent, it smells like escalation. A man who tests boundaries, who pushes a little, sees what he can get away with, who maybe graduated from stares and questions to something far worse one cold night in March when snow-muffled screams and an empty shuttle van could feel like a private world. She runs his name through every database again, widening the net, going beyond Chicago. No homicides, no sexual assault charges. But there are hints. A restraining order in 2001, granted then sealed. A dismissed complaint in another state where he briefly worked for a warehouse. Inappropriate behavior toward a coworker, wording vague and neutered. The system is full of ghosts like this, accusations that never made it to trial but hover over certain names like smoke. She writes it all down, builds a narrative. In an internal memo to the state's attorney's office, she lays out the case in bullet points, stripping it of emotion. Victim route, defendant route, job history, chemical overlap, fiber consistency, proximity, behavioral complaints, suspicious non-denial during interview, possible pattern. Taken together, she writes, these elements indicate that Eric Lawson remains a strong suspect in the murder of Danielle Carter. The response is measured, cautious, exactly what she expects and hates. A senior prosecutor calls her into a conference room with glossy wood and a view of the skyline that feels like another planet from Western Avenue. He's polite, even complimentary. Hell of a memo, detective, he says. You did your homework. I'm not looking for a grade, she replies. I'm looking for charges. He leans back, steeples his fingers. I get that, but you know our standard. Beyond a reasonable doubt isn't a slogan. It's a wall. What you've got on this guy. It's compelling. It's suggestive. It's not enough to climb that wall. He ticks them off. We've got partial DNA we can't cleanly tie to him. We've got fibers that say industrial vehicle, not this specific van. We've got his route and his address, but lots of people drove those streets and lived near those corners. And the complaints? They paint him as a creep, yes, not as a killer. Morales feels the anger rise, hot and sharp. So we wait for what? She asks. A confession? A time machine? You want a recording of him in the van because this case will never give us that. But I've got a dead 19-year-old, a pattern, a man who fits every angle except the one science refuses to confirm because time did what time does. The prosecutor sighs. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm saying a jury might not say he did. And if we go to trial and we lose, double jeopardy, he walks forever, no second shot, you want that on your conscience? She doesn't answer. The room feels smaller. The city in the window looks indifferent. What I can do, he continues, is flag this file. If you dig up something else, another witness, another victim, a stronger DNA link, we move. Fast, I promise. But right now, all I can give you is keep working. Keep working. The 2 words every detective hears when they need, we're going to back you, and get good luck instead. She leaves the office with the Carter file heavier in her hands than when she brought it in. When she tells the family, she edits out the politics. She meets them in their living room, the same small space that held Ruiz and Harper years ago, now older, more worn. The couch sags in new places. The framed photo of Danielle has been moved from the TV to a shelf near the window, as if they want her to see the street she never made it down. We have a strong suspect, she says carefully. We have evidence tying him to your daughter's path, to the kind of chemicals and materials found on her. We have enough to say his name out loud in this room, to look at him, to push him, but she hates this word more than any curse. We don't yet have enough to put him in handcuffs and hold him there. Her mother's eyes narrow. Then say his name anyway, she says. I've been living with nothing for 13 years. I can handle a maybe. Eric Lawson, Morales says. The syllables feel dirty. He drove shuttles on the west side back then, lived near her route. There were complaints about his behavior with other women. The brother, older now, jaw shadowed with stubble, leans forward. You talked to him? Yes, she says. He denied knowing her. He agreed to give a DNA sample. The results were complicated. The mother shakes her head, voice low, hoarse. Does he still walk a free man in this city? Yes, Morales answers. No way to soften that. The room shifts. Anger, grief, a fresh cut layered over scar tissue. The mother looks at a spot on the wall like she's trying not to look at anything breakable. So he gets to go to work, she murmurs. Drink coffee, ride the bus, breathe, while my daughter lies in the ground and her coat hangs in my closet like a body that won't stop standing there. Morales wants to promise her an ending, wants to say, we'll get him. Instead, she says the only true thing she has. I'm not done with him. I can't walk away. I won't call this case solved because some headline demands closure, but I also won't call it dead, not while I'm breathing. The brother stands abruptly, walks to the window, stares down at the street. What if you can't prove it, he asks. What if he's the one and you never get the magic science trick you need and he dies an old man who never hears a judge say his name with the word guilty after it? She doesn't answer because the truth is ugly. That happens. A lot. Cases rot, suspects age, death takes people before justice does. Cold storage is full of might-have-beens wearing toe tags. Instead, she says, then the file stays open. His name stays inside it. And every time someone builds a new tool that can pull more truth out of less, I'll make sure Danielle's evidence is on the table. They don't look comforted. Why would they? Promises about future tech sound like fairy tales in a room where grief has turned concrete. Years slide. 2009, 2011, 2014. New methods do arrive. Familial DNA searches, better trace analysis, new ways to squeeze information from broken strands of genetic code. Each time, the department holds a briefing, the lab rolls out charts and slides, everyone nods and thinks of the cases that might finally give something up. Each time, Morales is there, Carter file under her arm, ready to raise her hand and say, test this, run this, try again. Some tests fail. Sample too degraded. Too contaminated, insufficient markers. Others give faint hints that point toward the same dark shape. A male profile, consistent with someone of Lawson's background, ethnicity, age. But without a full set of markers, the best the experts can say is the phrase she's learned to hate cannot be excluded. By 2018, Lawson is older, heavier, a man who blends into the backdrop of middle-aged Chicago. He works for a small logistics company now, driving trucks on night roads through industrial corridors and warehouse districts that look like every other lonely place where bad things can happen. His record remains officially clean. If he's guilty, he's careful. If he's innocent, the universe has played a vicious joke with its coincidences. The case starts to move again, not because of a breakthrough, but because of a pattern. Another unit in another part of the state runs a cold case review on an unsolved attack from 1997, an assault that didn't end in death, but left a woman in a hospital with injuries and a memory she's spent decades trying to erase. Her attacker was never identified. She described a van, the smell of chemicals, a man who asked her too many personal questions before everything went dark. The new squad, feeding their old evidence into the shiny machine of updated DNA, reaches out to Chicago when a partial familial profile pings something in the Illinois state database, something connected not directly to Lawson, but to a relative, a cousin once fingerprinted and swabbed for an unrelated offense. The match isn't solid enough to name a perp on their case, but when they cross-check addresses, roots, old job histories, one name surfaces in both their universe and Morales's. Lawson. It's not a smoking gun, it's another thin line drawn across a map of years and miles. But thin lines, when they stack, start to look like ropes. The email lands in Morales's inbox on a weekday afternoon, subject line bland and bureaucratic, interagency query, possible link to 1995 homicide. She opens it, reads, heart rate rises. The words blur for a second, then sharpen. Another woman, another van, another red flag waving behind the name she's carried like a weight for a decade. By the time she stands in front of the board again, pinning this new case beside Danielle's, the narrative in her head has shifted. The equation is uglier now. If he did hurt that woman in 97, then the odds he met Danielle on her walk home and simply looked away shrink to almost nothing. She studies the board, Danielle's photo, Lawson's, the liquor store blur, the memo about the complaints, the half-matched DNA, the new case printout. The city outside keeps moving. Cars tracing familiar lines along Western and down to the park. People waiting at bus stops with collars up and headphones on, trusting that their routines are safe because they've repeated them 1,000 times. In a future she can't see clearly yet, there will be a press conference, there will be microphones, there will be a headline with a word the Carter family has been denied for decades: solved. But like most headlines, it will hide as much as it reveals, because solving a case on paper doesn't erase doubt from the air or fear from the streets. It just gives the city a new name to whisper, and one more question that never quite dies. What if we got the right man for the wrong reasons, or the wrong man because we needed him to fit? The subject line is dull, the content is not. Possible cross-case correlation, 1997 assault, 1995 homicide. That's how it starts. No exclamation marks, no sirens, just a quiet message tucked between meeting reminders and department memos. Morales clicks it open, and suddenly the room feels smaller, like the walls have leaned in to listen. Another woman, another night, another van. The report is from a town 90 miles away, close enough to share a weather pattern, far enough that people there pretend Chicago's problems are the city's, not theirs. In 1997, a 22-year-old woman left a bar just after midnight. Too much music, not enough friends. She started walking home alone. Halfway there, a van eased up beside her. The driver leaned over, smiled, offered a ride. She said no at first. He persisted. "It's late, it's cold, I'm heading that way anyway." Eventually, she said yes. That ride ended in a ditch with her crawling out of the side door, bleeding, half-strangled, fingers ragged from clawing at his face. She survived. Barely. She gave a description. The cops scoured the town. Nothing stuck. The case slid into their version of the same dark room Morales knows too well. A shelf, a box, a forgotten file. Now the lab has tugged on a thread. Partial DNA from that assault, fed into new software, flagged a familial link to a profile in the state database. Not a perfect match. A cousin. A shared branch on a quiet family tree. On that branch, among other names, the Joint Task Force notes one man who fits both geography and timeline when cross-referenced with old employment records. Lawson. No sirens, but Morales feels that familiar electric hum in the base of her skull anyway, the sound of a pattern tightening. She drives out to the other town in a car that smells like burnt coffee and old fast food, the kind of police car that's seen more dawns than sunrises. The sky is washed out, winter pale, the highway a long gray line cutting through flat land and thinner air. On the way, fragments of headlines assemble themselves in her mind, whether she wants them or not. 1997 attack linked to infamous Chicago cold case. Van predator hunted in 2 jurisdictions. The city loves a narrative. The city loves a monster with a face. The detective who meets her at the small brick station looks like he's been awake since 1997. He slides a thin file across a desk that's too clean. "We'd about given up on this one," he admits. "Victim moved away. DNA wasn't worth much back then. Now the lab says we've got this cousin thing." He shrugs. "Science wasn't like this when I started. We used to have phones with cords." Morales pulls out her own monster, the Carter file, photos, autopsy summaries, the liquor store still, Lawson's employment sheets, the memo about passengers who felt watched. She lays them out between them, building a bridge of paper between a ditch in 97 and a park in 95. "What did she say about him?" Morales asks. "Your victim, the driver." The detective flips slowly to an old statement. The handwriting is shaky, the lines waver. "White male, mid-20s, he reads. Average build, dark hair, smelled like chemicals, like some kind of shop. Started off polite, then got weird. Asked if she had a boyfriend, if she'd ever done anything crazy. When she tried to get out, he grabbed her arm, said she scratched his face, hard." Morales sees Danielle in that space between polite and weird, the gap where safety falls through the floor. "She never mentioned a company name, logo, anything on the van?" The detective hesitates. "She thought there was lettering on the side," he says, "but it was dark, she was drunk, everything went sideways fast. She got trans and maybe an O or R. That's it. Could be transport, could be transco, could be nothing." On the way out, Morales asks the question that matters. "Is she still around?" He nods slowly. Changed her name, moved twice. But she kept her contact info current with victim services for some reason. Maybe she knew something like this might happen. The woman lives in a small apartment in a quieter town now, the kind of place with laminate floors and generic art of flowers on the walls. Her hair is shorter, her eyes are older. She opens the door with the cautious look of someone who's learned the hard way that danger doesn't always knock loud. Morales introduces herself, explains why she's there. The words cold case and DNA and possible link float between them like foreign objects. The woman listens, arms folded, fingertips pressing into her own skin. "You're telling me," she says slowly, "that the guy who did that to me might be the same one who killed that girl in Chicago." She's seen the story. Everyone has. Red coat, park, headline that never got a period at the end. "I'm telling you," Morales says, "that some of the science points toward the same family, and that one member of that family, Eric Lawson, was living near Danielle's route in 95 and working near here in 97. I'm also telling you that nothing is certain yet, and I don't want to turn your life upside down for a maybe. But I have to ask you about that night." The woman closes her eyes, exhales. The decision is visible on her face. Some victims slam the door, some open it wider. She steps back, lets Morales in. They sit at a table that's probably seen overdue bills and birthday cakes and silent dinners. Morales places a recorder between them, explains its purpose. The woman nods, fingers drumming once on the surface before she tucks her hands into her sleeves. "Start wherever you need to," Morales says. "I remember the smell first," the woman replies, surprising her. Not his face, the smell, like machine shop mixed with old sweat and cheap coffee, like he'd been in that van for years and never stepped out of it. Her voice tightens as she continues. "He was charming at first, not good at it, but trying, asking about my night, what I did, if I lived alone. I thought, he's awkward but harmless. Harmless, the most dangerous word in the world." "Then," Morales prompts gently. "Then his questions got dirty," the woman says. "Like he flipped a switch, asked if I was open-minded, if I'd done things in cars. Put his hand on my leg when we stopped at a light. I pushed it away. He laughed. A weird laugh. Thin. Like he wasn't actually amused, just performing. When I said I wanted to get out, he locked the doors." Her breathing quickens. Morales lets the silence fill, doesn't rush her. The recorder spins, plastic whirring like a heart monitor. "I don't remember how we left the road," she says. 1 minute city, next minute dark, trees, dirt. He reached over, grabbed my throat, said something like, "Don't make this harder." I panicked, scratched. I remember feeling his skin give under my nails. I remember him cursing. Then I kicked hard, and I hit something that made him grunt. He lost his grip for a second. I threw myself at the door, slammed it with my shoulder until it opened, and I fell. After that, it's just running. Branches, headlights behind me, and then gone. "His voice," Morales asks. "If you heard it again, would you know it?" The woman thinks. "Maybe," she says. Voices change, memory lies, but there was this tone, like he was bored and curious at the same time, like he'd done this before and was just seeing how this version played out. Morales shows her a lineup of faces on paper, not a formal one yet, just a mix of men from that era, ages, builds, Lawson among them. The woman scans them, finger hovering, moving past him once, twice, circling back. It stops on his photo. Her hand trembles. "I'm not saying that's him," she whispers. "I'm saying he's the one my body reacts to, if that makes sense." It does. To Morales, it does. But courtrooms don't run on instincts. They run on evidence that can be weighed, measured, cross-examined. Back in Chicago, the joint task meeting feels like a strategy session before a storm. Maps, files, lab reports spread out like battle plans. 2 jurisdictions, 1 name. "We can't hang 2 cases on a partial familial hit," the state's scientist warns. But the 1997 sample is cleaner than the 1995 one, less degraded. "We've got more loci to work with. If you can get us a fresh, surreptitious Lawson sample, we can at least tell you if he's your man on that assault. If he is, it strengthens your narrative on Carter. A lot." Surreptitious, the polite word for digging through someone's trash to find the truth. They tail him, not like the movies, not a single car hugging his bumper, but a rotation of gray sedans and unmarked SUVs that blend into city traffic. Lawson's routine is painfully ordinary. Work, home, a discount grocery store, a bar where the beer is cheap and the lights are dim. He smokes now, which is a gift. Every cigarette butt he flicks to the curb looks like a lottery ticket. They get their opening outside the bar on a Tuesday night. He stands under a sputtering neon sign, finishing a smoke. He drops the butt, grinds it with his heel, steps inside. A minute later, a plainclothes officer strolls past, bends to tie his shoe, and scoops the butt into a tiny plastic tube. Later, it's coffee cups, fast food wrappers, a plastic fork from a takeout container left in a public bin. All of it goes to the lab, labeled with dates, times, coordinates. The wait for results feels like the longest in her life, and she's had plenty. Every ring of the phone could be the call. Every ring that isn't makes her jaw clench tighter. When it finally comes, the technician doesn't bother with preambles. "We ran the trash samples against the 97 assault profile," he says. "It's a match, not partial, not cannot be excluded. A match." Statistically, we're in 1 in billions territory. If this were a paternity case, he'd be paying child support until the end of time. Morales closes her eyes just for a second. Not to savor it, to steady herself under the weight of what comes next. So he's your man for 97, she says, which means he's our best suspect for 95. Careful with the leap, the tech warns. But yeah, if I were a betting man, she doesn't need him to finish the sentence. She's already picturing the warrant, the cuffs, the cameras. The other department moves first. It's their case, their arrest. But they invite Chicago in, a gesture of both cooperation and spectacle. The press release is crafted like a movie trailer. Breakthrough in 1997 assault using advanced DNA techniques. Suspect also under investigation in notorious 1995 Chicago homicide. Words chosen to stir, not calm. The morning of the arrest, the neighborhood is ordinary. Kids at bus stops, dogs on leashes. Lawson steps out of his building in a jacket that's seen too many winters and not enough care. He carries a thermos. He locks his door. He walks toward his car, keys in hand. The world doesn't know it yet, but his life is already split in half, the part before the sirens and the part after. Unmarked cars glide in, doors open, voices, loud, commanding, undeniable. Eric Lawson, police, let me see your hands. For a heartbeat, he freezes like he might run. Then he doesn't. He raises his hands slowly, keys dangling, metal catching pale morning light. They move in, hands on his arms, on his back, cuffs click around his wrists, cold steel. One officer reads him his rights in a clear, practiced voice. He nods, expression caught between shock and something else. Resignation, offense, relief. Neighbors watch from windows, phones in hand. Cameras arrive in minutes, like vultures that heard the commotion from miles away. By the time they load him into the car, a local news van is already parked at the corner. A reporter stands in front of a lens, breath puffing in the air, saying words the city has waited decades to hear. Arrest made in long unsolved assault. Suspect also tied to infamous Chicago cold case. Community reacts. In the station, in a different room from the one where he once sat voluntarily, the walls feel closer, no more casual posture, no more easy shrugs. Lawson is booked, processed, fingerprinted. The computer system beeps as his prints slide into digital storage, cross-checking with databases that now know exactly who he is on a molecular level. Morales watches from the other side of the glass as they take his mugshot. The camera flash pops. For a moment, the image on the screen overlaps perfectly with the grainy liquor store still in her mind. Shadow and flesh, aligned. The charges for 1997 go first. Aggravated assault, kidnapping, attempted murder. The DA in that jurisdiction is hungry and grateful. They've been sitting on this open wound for more than 20 years. The press conference that afternoon is carefully choreographed. Flags, seals, suits, microphones lined up like barrels. The prosecutor steps up, clears his throat, and delivers the line everyone wants. Today, thanks to advances in forensic science and the dogged work of investigators in 2 jurisdictions, we believe we have identified the man responsible for a brutal 1997 attack. Furthermore, this individual is a prime suspect in the 1995 murder of Chicago resident Danielle Carter. Cameras click, pens scratch. The words explode into digital space in seconds. Breaking news alerts, push notifications. Chicago 1995 cold case solved. With a question mark for now. The question mark won't survive long. Headlines don't like punctuation that admits doubt. In the Carter apartment, the TV is on, volume low, like it always is. Her mother doesn't expect to see her daughter's name. It's been so many years that the absence of mention has become its own kind of background noise. When the anchor says Danielle, the cup in her hand slips. Coffee splashes the carpet. Her body moves slower than her brain. They show his face, Lawson, in a mugshot, staring dead into the lens. For a second, just one small second, there's a flicker of something like triumph in her eyes. Not joy, not closure, just proof that the man haunting the edges of their nightmares has a mouth, a nose, hair that can be cut. He's no longer a shapeless shadow. Is that him? The brother asks quietly as if she'd know. I don't care, she says, voice trembling. If he did it, I want his name carved in the same stone as hers. If he didn't, I want them to stop playing with our grief. Back at the station, as the echo of the press conference still vibrates through the building, Morales looks at the board, at Danielle's smile, at the word she scrawled in the corner more than once and then crossed out every time, solved. Tomorrow's papers will use it without hesitation. Tomorrow's broadcasts will run graphics with cold case cracked, justice delayed but not denied. City breathes sigh of relief. For one brief moment, it will look like the headline has finally written itself. But headlines are cheap. Inside the interview room where Lawson now sits in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed to a metal ring on the table, solved is still just a word no one has earned. Not yet. The word solved hits the city before the paperwork does. It flashes in red on breaking news banners, slides under anchors' voices. lands in push notifications that light up phones on buses and in break rooms and in kitchens where dinner is burning because someone just froze at the sound of a familiar name. New DNA technology cracks decades-old mystery, the voice says. Chicago 1995 cold case finally solved. Prime suspect arrested in connection with 1997 assault now linked to infamous Danielle Carter murder. The question mark is there for now. It won't last. Question marks never do when the cameras want periods. In the station, the air feels thick, crowded with ghosts and people trying not to think about ghosts. Writers from the PR unit are already shaping phrases. Tireless investigation, relentless pursuit of justice, closure for the family. Everybody loves closure. It photographs well. Inside an interview room, there's no closure, just fluorescent light, a table ringed with metal, and Lawson in an orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed, eyes narrowed. The bravado he had as a voluntary guest is gone. In its place is something uglier, calculation. He knows this is different. He's not here as a name on a list. He's here as the headline. His lawyer sits beside him, a man with a tired suit and a sharp tongue. He settled into the case like he's worn this role his whole life, the wall between a client and the full weight of the state. He folds his hands, nods once at the detective and the prosecutor across from him, and says, "We're here to listen. For now." Morales sits in the corner, not the one asking questions this time. The 1997 DA has the wheel, but she's the one holding the Carter file in her lap, thumb pressed into a crease on the page where Danielle's name appears in black ink, again and again, like a chant. They start with the assault, the ditch, the van, the woman who crawled away. "Mr. Lawson," the prosecutor says, voice smooth as polished stone, "we have DNA evidence tying you to the 1997 attack in Lakeview County. We have a victim willing to testify. We have corroborating details. This is no longer a question of whether you were there. It's a question of whether you want to die in prison or not." The lawyer clears his throat. "Let's slow down with the death talk," he says. "My client maintains his innocence." The prosecutor ignores him. He looks at Lawson. "You were there. You grabbed her. You tried to kill her. Don't insult us by pretending otherwise." Lawson stares at the table, jaw working. The metal ring clinks softly as the cuff chain shifts. A muscle jumps once in his cheek. "I drove a lot of people," he says finally, voice low. "I don't remember every ride." "That one remembered you," the prosecutor says. "She remembered the smell of your van, the sound of your voice, the way you locked the doors." He leans forward. "She scratched your face. Hard. You go to work covered in scratches the next day, Eric?" Lawson's eyes flick up, then away. "I don't remember that," he says. The lawyer puts a hand on his arm. "You don't have to answer that," he reminds him quietly. "We can stop this right now." But Lawson doesn't stop. Men like him always think they can talk their way out of a hole. It's what got him into the van with victims in the first place. "I didn't mean to hurt anybody," he says. The room pauses, just a breath, just long enough for the words to grow teeth. "So you were there," the prosecutor says softly. "You just didn't mean to hurt her." The lawyer curses under his breath. "Don't answer that." But the damage is done. The line is crossed. Denial has cracked and something uglier is leaking through. Lawson looks at the camera in the corner like it's a person judging him, then back at the table. "People lie," he mutters. "Women lie. They get drunk. They regret things. They say things happen that didn't." Morales feels her jaw tighten. She's heard this script 100 times. The default defense. Shift the weight, smear the victim. Make hurt sound like an accident and she sound like the real problem. "Nobody's denying she drank that night," the prosecutor replies. "Nobody's denying you picked her up. The science doesn't care if she had 2 beers or 10. It still puts you there. It doesn't lie. So here's where we are, Eric. If you own up to what you did, if you give her the truth she's owed, that might matter when we talk sentencing. If you don't, the facts will do it for you, and a jury will see you as nothing but a predator in a van who left a woman to die in a ditch." The lawyer starts to object, but Lawson cuts him off with a slight shake of his head. It's small but definite. "What are you asking?" he says. "Tell us what happened in 1997, the prosecutor answers, and then tell us what happened in 1995. There it is, Danielle's year, dropped into the room like a brick through glass. The lawyer's voice goes sharp. "No, absolutely not. We are not conflating 2 separate cases in one interview. We're done here for now." He starts to gather his papers. "Your client is a suspect in both," the prosecutor says. "This is all relevant." "Not without a separate agreement," the lawyer snaps. "You want to talk about Carter, you talk to me about immunity on other charges, about what exactly you plan to use, about..." Morales' voice cuts through the back and forth before she can stop herself. "He knows her name," she says quietly. The room turns to her. She looks at Lawson. "Don't you, Eric? You know Danielle's name. You've known it for years." He stares at her. She sees the moment of recognition again, that first time she slid the photo across the table, the flinch he tried to bury, the way his eyes skimmed over her face like it was a hot surface. "Everybody knows that case," he says. "It was all over the news." "Not everybody lived 3 blocks from her bus route," she replies. "Not everybody drove a van that smelled like chemicals and cigarettes through her neighborhood at midnight." The lawyer stands. "This interview is over," he declares. "My client is invoking his right to remain silent." For once, Lawson obeys a rule immediately. He shuts his mouth. The metal ring on the table rattles again as he leans back, eyes going flat, emptying out like he's turned off a light behind them. The wall is up. They escort him back to holding. The lawyer leaves with a promise to be in touch when you have something reasonable to offer. The door closes. The room exhales. "You shouldn't have jumped in," the prosecutor tells Morales, though his tone carries more weary respect than anger. "We almost had him talking." "He slipped," she says. "He went from 'I wasn't there' to 'I didn't mean to hurt anybody.' That matters." "It matters for 97, he says. "For 95, we're still standing on air." Air. That's what this case feels like. Hands grabbing at something that should be solid but isn't. In the days that follow, the machine spins up. The 1997 county files formal charges. Arrest warrants get the ink of signatures. Press conferences multiply. Phrases like serial behavior and pattern of predation circulate. Talking heads on late-night shows ask if he could be linked to even more unsolved crimes. Van Predator trends in headlines. Someone digs up an old, grainy photo of a metro shuttle van and splashes it on screen like a mugshot for a vehicle. In Chicago, the mayor stands at a podium flanked by flags and uniformed officers. Cameras crowd the room like vultures. "This arrest shows our commitment to never giving up," he says, eyes full of practiced sorrow. "Cold cases are not forgotten cases. The Carter family has waited too long for this day." Somewhere in the crowd, Morales stands with her arms crossed, the badge on her belt catching the light. She hears the words "for this day" and feels her stomach twist, because this day isn't what the microphones say it is. This day is a before, not an after. The Carter family isn't at the podium. They're on their couch again, the TV glow painting their faces. Reporters asked them to appear. The department offered to bring them to the press conference, to stand behind the mayor like proof of success. They said no. "I'm tired of standing behind people who talk and don't finish their sentences," the mother said. Now she watches from home, fingers clasped so tight in her lap her knuckles are white. Her son sits beside her, foot bouncing, jaw clenched. On screen, the mayor says, "We believe we have the man responsible for this heinous crime." And the word "believe" does a lot of quiet, dangerous work. "Believe," the brother repeats, bitter. "Not know, not proved. Believe." "Belief is all we were given when she disappeared," the mother murmurs. "Believe she ran away. Believe she'd come home. Believe the system would catch him." She stares at Lawson's mugshot when it appears on the screen again. "The only thing I know is my daughter is dead, and they keep handing me faith instead of facts." Morales visits them that night. She doesn't wear her full uniform of authority, jacket open, hair a little looser, voice softer. The file is in her hand again, heavier than ever. "Is it true?" the mother asks as soon as she steps inside. No hello, no small talk, just the question that matters. Did he do it? Morales could talk about DNA, about van seats, about chemical profiles and employment rosters and half-remembered stares at bus stops. She could talk about the new 1997 match and what predators usually are, repeat offenders, men who refine their cruelty over time. Instead, she tells the rawest truth she has. "I think he did," she says. "If you're asking my gut, my experience, my night staring at his name on a board, it says yes. If you're asking whether I can take that into court tomorrow and walk out with a guilty verdict for Danielle's murder, the answer is no, not yet." The mother closes her eyes. A tear escapes anyway. It tracks down her cheek, falls onto her hand, disappears. "Then they shouldn't say solved," she whispers, not with her name in the sentence. "We don't control the words they use," Morales says. "We control the work, and the work's not done." "Will you testify?" the brother asks. "In the 97 case?" "If they call me," she says. "I've been part of the investigation. They'll want to show pattern." "Good," he replies. His knuckles crack as he flexes his fists. "I want a jury to see his face, even if they don't get to hear my sister's." The 1997 trial becomes its own kind of spectacle. Old wounds ripped open for public viewing. The victim takes the stand, hands shaking, voice steady. She points at Lawson decades after the ditch and says, "That's him." The defense questions her memory, her drinking, the dim light of that night. They talk about suggestibility, about the danger of old cases reanimated by new science. The lab techs counter with charts and probabilities and slides full of coded ladders of colored peaks. The jury listens, jaws tight. Morales testifies too. She speaks about patterns of behavior, about the way predators operate across years and miles, about the intersection of van routes and victims' routines. She doesn't say Danielle's name, not formally. The judge has drawn a line. The Carter murder is mentioned as a separate investigation. Still, the shadow of that park hangs over every word. On the day the verdict comes, the courtroom is packed. The air tastes like sweat and expectation. The victim sits in the front row, hands folded, knuckles pale. The Carter family isn't there. They're miles away, unable to watch another woman's pain turned into a public event. but their absence is a presence of its own. The jury files in, faces unreadable. The clerk asks, the foreman answers. On the charge of aggravated kidnapping, guilty. On the charge of attempted murder, guilty. Words sharp as gavel blows. Lawson's jaw tightens. His eyes flick once toward the ceiling, like he's looking for a camera that isn't there. The victim exhales a breath she's been holding for 20 years. The room erupts, not in cheers, this isn't a movie, but in a low murmur of released tension. For a heartbeat, the city believes it's watching the cold case crack in real time. News crawls run. Van Predator convicted. Chicago cold case next. Hashtags bloom. Old footage of Danielle's school picture plays on loop again, the red sweater brighter than the truth behind it. But in the quiet after the cameras pack up, in an office where the blinds are half closed against the setting sun, Morales and the Chicago prosecutor stare at the Carter file like it's a patient on the table whose heart started beating in another room. We've got a convicted predator now, the prosecutor says. We can put him in the room with another victim. We can talk pattern, we can talk opportunity, we can lean on him harder for 95. Public sentiment's on our side. We could file charges on Danielle, build the case around everything we've got. It won't be perfect, but it might be enough. Might, the most dangerous word she knows. Or we might hand his attorneys exactly what they want, she counters. An overreach, a case built on association and outrage more than concrete. If we miss, it's done forever. He never has to hear her name again in a courtroom. You want to wait another 10 years, he asks, for some lab miracle that may or may not arrive? The Carter family is aging. Witnesses are disappearing. Juries don't like fossils. They like stories with villains and victims and an ending. She thinks of the tree in Douglas Park, the ribbon long gone, the ground that has frozen and thawed and grown new grass over the exact spot where Danielle's body lay. Time is not neutral, it's complicit. I want the truth, she says, not just an ending. He looks at her for a long moment, then nods slowly. Then we squeeze him, he says, harder. We take the conviction we have and we put it on the table. We offer deals, we threaten years, we dangle the possibility of dying in a smaller cage instead of a deeper one. We see if he bends. And somewhere, in a cell that smells like metal and bleach and regret, Lawson sits on a narrow bunk, listening to the echo of the verdict still bouncing in his head. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Outside, the world is already writing the next headline. Chicago 1995 cold case solved, confession expected. Expected, not promised, not earned. Just another word the city throws ahead of itself like bait, hoping reality will chase it.